Welcome in, everybody. After that beautiful rendition of the national anthem, Fordham women's basketball is back in the Rose Hill Gym for the first time this month in February. Coach Bridgette Mitchell and her Rams look to bounce back from the three-game skid. The challenge in front of them, one of the biggest and toughest in the conference, the George Mason Patriots. I'm Chris Carrino, joined by Tucker Austin. Tucker, Fordham desperate to turn this ship around.
Yeah, and it's been almost 2 weeks since their last home game, Chris. And it's been almost that long for me as well. I've been on the road with this team for a little while now, but it's good to be back here inside of the historic Rose Hill Gym in the 100th anniversary of the gym being used. And Chris, the good shot, Fordham was getting a lot of good shots against George Washington, but they just weren't falling. So they can still get good looks today against George Mason, but they just need those shots to fall, Chris. And really, I think if you can find one good thing that came out of the George Washington game, it was Irene Mora's three-point shooting. She's emerged as a real lethal shooter from outside. She went 4 for 4 in that game. So look to see if she can get hot from beyond the arc again tonight, and if the Fordham Rams can just get those shots to fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Fordham Rams looking to get back on the right track. We had the opportunity of catching up with Fordham head coach, Coach Bridgette Mitchell, before the game. Take a listen. Taking you live pregame before Fordham and George Mason with head coach, Coach Bridgette Mitchell. Coach, coming into this one, just trying to get into the win column, try to get back on the right track. Just kind of generally for your squad individually, what does that look like?
Yeah, we talked about stumbling, right? And we asked everybody to describe, give a definition of what stumble means, right? And it's like fall off track, you trip up. And I said, we stumbled. We had a little stumble, but this is a great opportunity for us to recover, right? We don't have to completely fall down, right? We have a chance here to make a push against a talented team. So we're looking at today as an opportunity.
Yeah.
And your team obviously ranks nationally in terms of rebounding, but this George Mason team, they know their way around the paint as well. They're led by 6'2" Nalani Kasia. So just talk a little bit about the matchup in the paint today.
Yeah, they do a phenomenal job of doubling the post, so we anticipate them double teaming Irene and her being able to kick it out. So this week we were making sure that we did passes out of the double team and her ability to quickly score, right? Not too many dribbles, one dribble, and then make your move. So that's something that is going to allow us to get more paints in the point so that we can kind of win that battle. And then when it comes to boxing out and crashing the glass, they don't box out as well, so we have offensive opportunities. And then we have to limit theirs because they do crash pretty aggressively. So
yeah, absolutely. And Coach, presence is something we've talked about with great importance all year long. This time of the year can get crazy for a team, obviously, heading into conference tournament time and just in general with the conference play heading right into the last month or so of play. How do you keep that presence with your team, it being so important to your guys' success?
Yeah, we've said it all season in terms of us being young. It's time for us to mature now. We've had some perils, we had some triumphs, right? And we like how the triumphs feel. So our goal is to have more of those and have more of those feelings. And so, again, this is an opportunity for us to go against a top team in the league to show what we're made of, what we've been practicing all summer and all season long for.
And then building on that, I would say it's been a week. I mean, you guys have the whole road trip between the road game at SLU and then the road game at George Washington, and then some issues with the plane trying to get back. I know because I was there. But, just how have you guys had a chance to recover this week after such a wild week stretch before that?
Today's game will show you if we've recovered. Getting in at 5 a.m. is extremely challenging, and and the demand at Fordham for academic excellence is something that since school's been back in session, we've been struggling a little bit. So we just got to get our groove, and hopefully today's the day that we start that comeback.
Coach Bridgette Mitchell, pleasure as always. George Mason and Fordham
back
next.
Here in the Bronx. Starting this one off, it's going to be the George Mason offense starting this afternoon in their black uniforms, pink trim at the free throw line. Starting it already, Walton driving through the right side of the lane. No good on the right-handed layup. And that one going to be a battle out of bounds, going to stay on here with the Patriots.
Hot start to this one, Chris. We have the coach's sound coming right up to the tip-off. But a little battle under the rim. We're going to see plenty of that tonight, especially from Irene Mora of the Fordham Rams.
Yeah, absolutely. Paula Suarez on the right baseline, inbounding under the basket. In the right corner to Brown. Brown at the right wing, now inside. Kasia facing up Mora, right block, spinning right, using the right hand, no good on the shot. Rose Nelson's there on the defensive glass for Fordham. They're moving offensively. Taya Davis, top of the arc, dribble handoff, Veljovic, top of the arc to Irene Mora. Moving it around on the left wing to Rose Nelson. Pass inside to Irene Mora. She's fouled inside on the floor. That one will be on the Patriots.
Well, a good job on the defensive end from Morwa on the last possession, getting a piece of that ball. Maybe not a full block, but I think she deserves credit for the block. And then you come down the other end, and Morwa draws the first foul of the game against George Mason.
Inbounded to Veljovic, right wing. She's trying to get it onto the right block to Mora. That pass goes over Mora's head. It'll stay on this side with Fordham off of George Mason's Walton.
Boy, lucky break there for the Fordham Rams. That could have easily been a straight giveaway and a turnover.
Yeah. This Fordham team trying to limit themselves to around 15 turnovers a game, Coach Bridgette Mitchell said. Veljovic in the right wing, pass same spot to Taya Davis, top of the arc. Now driving through the left side of the lane, putting up a right-handed layup, no good. Offensive rebound tracked down by Mora. Second chance for the Rams. Top of the arc, Taya Davis, she'll reset. Crossover left to right. Now driving through the right side of the lane, and a travel. Unforced turnover for the Fordham offense. Taya Davis on the travel, and it goes back to the Patriots. Patriots possession.
Yeah, it looked like Taya Davis hesitated a little bit there on the dribble. Maybe a slight carry for just a moment. Clearly the referee thought she picked up the dribble.
To Walton now, top of the arc to Suarez, deep right wing, guarded by the freshman Veljovic. Now going right around a screen, now in the right corner. Almost picked out on the right wing. Walton drives in, bounce pass downstairs. Keisha no good on the shot. Saved from out of bounds by Mora into Rose Nelson. Fordham now controls, going the other way offensively. To Veljovic, left wing, back to Taya Davis. She'll go right around to Kayla Berry's screen. Kayla Berry, left baseline, driving inside, no good on the layup. George Mason controls once again. Walton with the Patriots, dribble handoff to Suarez, left wing, she'll pick and pop. No good. Rebound Taya Davis. Fordham controls once again.
And that felt like way too good of a look there for Paula Suarez.
Pass to Rose Nelson, right wing. Back to Taya Davis. She'll pass to Irene Moore, left wing. She'll look to shoot, decide against it. Faking the dribble handoff, then decides to do it. Rose Nelson now has it, top of the key. Another dribble handoff, Taya Davis. She goes to the left side of the lane, puts up a floater, and it goes. Taya Davis on the bucket. She's got Fordham to a 2-0 lead. 2-0 with 7:36 to go in this first quarter. Top of the arc, Suarez directing the off-ball movement of the Patriots. Going left around to Keisha screen. Top of the arc three, no good off front rim. Kayla Berry has it. Now the Fordham offense.
It's another huge miss there for Paula Suarez. If Fordham can keep her off the board from three-point land, this could go Fordham's direction.
Suarez, a great form in her shot, just fantastic technical ability as that left wing three, no good off the left side of the rim from Veljovic. But Suarez told from her head coach to shoot the ball more this year. Vanessa Blair-Lewis, her head coach, wanting some more confidence offensively from her, and she's had it more this season. Right wing three from her, no good. Second three attempt from her, both don't go, and now Fordham works offensively.
Yeah, plenty of that confidence, Chris, but just none of the buckets so far for Paula Suarez.
She's averaging 11 points per game this year, 38% from the three-point line, a very impressive number. Top of the arc, Irene Mora. Pass on the left wing to Veljovic, now going right around to Mora's screen at the free throw line. Pass downstairs, Mora dribbling under the basket. Reverse right-handed layup goes. Crafty work from Irene Mora down low.
Yeah, exactly what you like to see out of Mora. And quickly, the other way comes George Mason.
Yeah, Habib has it right corner quickly to Brown. Back to Habib, right corner. Guarded by Mora. Downstairs, gets it into Keisha. She loses it. It'll stay out to George Mason on the baseline. They'll inbound it.
Now look at Taya Davis flying in there, Chris, in the paint and getting up with the 6'2" Nalani Keisha in there, probably the best rebounder on this George Mason team. Taya Davis does not care at all and gets in there and knocks the ball away.
Tucker, zero court rust on her. She obviously missed some action. Now coming in, zero all reckless abandon, I rather say. A foul there downstairs on the floor. It'll be on Rose Nelson on the inbound. And it'll be another inbound in this game. This one for George Mason on the left baseline, under the basket. It'll be Paula Suarez. She gets it in, top of the key. Volker, dribble handoff back to Suarez, top of the arc. Getting it to Walton. Fakes the shot, top of the key, drives inside, stops at the left elbow, back out to Brown. Brown left wing. Bounce pass inside to Cutting Newton, no good on her layup. Second chance, no good as well. Offensive rebound tracked down by Brown. Second chance for George Mason. Top of the key. Volker stopping at the left elbow, back out. resetting of the offense from the Patriots. Paolo Suarez, top of the arc. Going left around a screen. Now at the left elbow. Fakes the shot. Out to Brown. Right wing three. No good off back iron. Irene Mora has it on the defensive glass. Fordham has it offensively.
That's a great, solid defensive possession from the Fordham Rams. Just being really tenacious on the ball when it's loose and preventing any kind of decent look for George Mason.
Inside to Irene Mora. Right block in the right post now. Swung all the way around left corner. Veljovic driving inside through the middle of the paint. No good off back iron on the floater. That ball flies out of bounds off her own hands and into the possession of George Mason the other way.
You still love to see Veljovic getting involved with the rebound after her own shot. Fordham is really good at getting after their offensive rebounds. Of course, they're ranked nationally in that category, Chris, sitting 14th best in the nation in offensive rebounding at 15.5 boards on the offensive glass per game.
A really important element, not only for any basketball team, but especially a basketball team looking for as many offensive possessions, as many offensive chances as they could possibly have. Now in the right wing, George Mason not wasting any time as they usually do. Left wing three is good. Quick shot from Jada Brown from the left wing goes, and the Virginia native got George Mason back within one. 4-3, 4:46 to go in this first quarter.
Unsurprising there. That's a great shooter, Jada Brown, the 5'6" junior from Falls Church, Virginia, shooting 27% on the season from three this year.
Top of the key, Irene Mora. Ball above her head, now on the right wing, Taya Davis. Taya Davis looking inside into the right post, decides against it. Left wing, Taylor Donaldson. Back to Taya Davis at the right elbow. Right corner, Irene Mora three. No good off the right side of the rim. Rebound by Mitchell, going the other way. In transition, Suarez tried to get it inside, couldn't, got her own pass back. In the right corner to Brown. Quick pass to Walton, right wing. She couldn't quite get the ball down in time on the ground. It's a travel and a turnover for George Mason. And a timeout as well.
Yeah, sorry, Chris. That's a call we see a lot of the time against Fordham. I've seen Taya Davis and Rose Nelson be called for those weird in-between travels where they sort of just forget to put the ball on the ground before they start moving with it. But no, a lucky break here for the Fordham Rams as the call comes against Zahira Walton instead.
Yeah, definitely. Fordham Rams have a 1-0 lead, a low-scoring affair so far, 4-3. Fordham leads George Mason, 4:07 to go in this first quarter. We'll be right back. You're listening to Fordham Women's Basketball on WFUV Sports.
What's up, everyone? I'm Lou Orlando.
I'm Nick Guzman.
And I'm Chaz McAdams.
We're your broadcasters for Fordham Men's Basketball.
Led by Jackie Johnson, Keith Urgo's Rams are looking to make waves in the 100th anniversary season at the Rose Hill Gym.
We've got you covered for the highs, the lows, the X's and O's as Fordham takes on the gauntlet of the A10.
Don't miss a game. 90.7 FM WFUV is the home of Fordham Men's Basketball.
Back here in the Rose Hill Gym here in the Boogie Down Bronx, 4-3. Fordham Rams have an early lead over the George Mason Patriots, 4:07 to go in this first quarter. We talked about it, Tucker, earlier in this game in the intro. Chris Carrino joined by Tucker Austin. This Fordham Rams team has struggled. They lost their last three on a three-game losing streak in the conference. Before that, they had a 6-2 record in the conference, trying to just get back on track. It seems like they've done that in the early stages of this game so far.
Yeah, we've certainly seen the aggressiveness that Coach Bridgette Mitchell preached to us pregame when we had a chance to gather our coaches' sound. She said that she wanted the Fordham Rams to look more aggressive and be aggressive in taking the shots that George Mason gives them. She said that George Mason does give up a lot of shooting opportunities in places where Fordham likes to take their shots. The problem being that those shots haven't been falling for the Fordham Rams necessarily in recent games. But, Fordham has the lead early on here. It is just a 1-point lead at 4-3. But, a lead is a lead, and this is the second best team in the Atlantic 10 this year. So this could be a big statement game for this Fordham Rams women's basketball team that's sort of looking to get their identity back, that identity that they had at the start of A10 play, Chris.
Definitely, Tucker. And just to keep fair, both these teams
very inefficient so far to start the early stages of this game. 2 for 7 for the Fordham Rams from the field. 1 of 10 for George Mason from the field. That was a 3 earlier in this game by Paula Suarez. Oh, my mistake, not Paula Suarez, Jada Brown. Jada Brown receiving a way bigger role on this George Mason team. There's obviously some injury health problems with this George Mason team. They're missing Kennedy Harris, one of their biggest contributors. But to have that availability, to have that flexibility as a head coach in Vanessa Blair-Lewis, to have a Jada Brown, to have all these people that can contribute. Mitchell is another person like that. Volko is another person like that. It just adds a whole other dimension to your team.
Yeah, depth is so huge, Chris. And when your leading scorer in Kennedy Harris has to sit today, George Mason isn't even worried about that, and they're basically just as favored to win this game as if Kennedy Harris was playing.
Fantastic road record for George Mason so far this year. Just 1 loss, 9-1 on the year so far. Veljovic working out of the left wing, crossover left to right, now at the right elbow. Pass to the cutting Chris Antoine, backdoor. Her shot no good at the rim, and a defensive rebound almost brought in. Emma Wilson-Saltos corralled it out of her hands on the offensive glass. Still some fighting for it on the glass. Eventually it'll be a jump ball on the baseline, but a lot of fight shown there from both teams on the rebounding glass.
Yes, absolutely. And, I mean, we've seen plenty of that all year for the Fordham Rams, but it's good to see Emma Wilson-Saltos getting in there. You know, she doesn't get a lot of time for this team, but in recent games with some players fouling out, she's been getting some looks, and so you always just love to see her put in that hard work whenever she gets out there.
Wilson-Saltos at the right elbow. Left-footed jab step, back out to Chris Antoine. To Taya Davis, she'll go right through the right side of the lane and finish at the rim with the right hand. Pretty move there from Taya Davis, using her speed and touch.
Yeah, beautiful footwork as well to get through the trees on the inside. Up for the nice and easy underhanded lay.
6-3 Fordham Rams, 3:10 to go in this first quarter. George Mason's working offensively. Top of the arc. Walton, ball above her head, now dribbles. Pass on the left wing. Paula Suarez, quick 3. It's good. Nothing but net for the Spaniard, and she's got George Mason back within nothing. It's tied, 6-6, 2:53 to go in this first quarter. Taya Davis working out of the right wing. Antoine coming up, setting a screen left. Taya Davis on the left wing to Taylor Donaldson. Donaldson crossing over left to right, stopping middle of the paint. Jumper no good. Wilson-Saltos there on the offensive glass. Couldn't quite hold on to it. It goes out of bounds, and it'll be back toward the Patriots.
Yeah, it is going to go to the Patriots. I thought for a moment there that Wilson-Saltos may have been fouled on the way back down, but no, ball just barely gets away. But again, Fordham with their hands on the basketball immediately off of the rim, off of a miss.
It's going to be George Mason inbounding it from the backcourt. Full court press for the Fordham Rams. Fordham Rams want to limit the up and down of this George Mason team. Top of the arc, Walton. Faking screen right, going left. Dribble handoff, Suarez, top of the arc. Drifts over to the right wing. Inside, Volker backing down on the right block. No good on the shot. Second chance, no good as well. Fight on the glass eventually ends up, of course, with Wilson-Saltos. Fordham coming the other way with speed. Taylor Donaldson handling. Pass to Shea Harris, left wing, deep left wing. Another dribble handoff. Veljovic, right wing. Guarded by Mitchell. Pass left corner, Antoine. Skip past Donaldson. Back out to Antoine. Antoine stopping at the free throw line. Back out Shea Harris. Right to left crossover. Through the lane. No good on the layup. George Mason coming the other way with speed. Passing out to a leaking Mitchell. She misses on the other end with the layup. Nice contest there from Taylor Donaldson. Fordham also not wasting any time. Veljovic, left wing. Dribble handoff Shea Harris. Same spot. Going to slow it down slightly. Direct the rest of the off-ball movement. What a pace these two teams were playing at. Pass to Donaldson on the right wing. Guarded tightly by Mitchell. Going right around a Wilson-Saltos screen. Now left. At the top of the arc. 2 seconds on the shot clock. Right elbow jumper. No good off the side of the rim. Rebound by Walton. What a defensive possession.
What a series of possessions.
Jada Brown coming fast the other way. Floater is good. This George Mason team, I said, likes to go up and down, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it seemes like the Rams were finally out of gas on that last possession. Couldn't put up enough of an effort to keep her away from the bucket for the easy lay, although it was a great job by Taylor Donaldson to sprint all the way back in the other end of the court about 2 possessions ago to prevent that fast break lay.
Yeah, hard breathing from all 10 women on the court right now. A fast pace to this game. Shea Harris, top of the arc. Guarded tightly by Suarez, now at the right elbow, taking a shot, no good, air ball, that's the shot clock. two very, very good defensive possessions for the George Mason Patriots.
Yeah, they're really, really solidifying on the defensive end are the George Mason Patriots. They now lead the game by 2. They really melted all the time off the clock at the end of this first quarter, Chris. We were just about at 4 minutes to go, now under 30 seconds.
Specifically the last 3 to 4 minutes has gone very fast.
Absolutely.
Some substitutions for the Rams. Wilson Saltos will sub out. Rose Nelson will sub back into this one. Now on the left wing, Walton. 3 is good! Walton on the quick fire 3 on the quick pass from Paula Suarez and George Mason. They've got a 5-point lead, 11-6, 5 seconds to go in the first quarter. Shea Harris, right to left crossover, left baseline jumper, good plus the foul! Shea Harris right at the end of the first quarter, giving her Fordham Rams a little bit of a jolt.
Yes, big, big swing of momentum there, Chris. And if she can get the 3-point play here, all the better to bring it within 2 points before the end of this first quarter. Honestly, with the first quarters I've seen recently from this Fordham Rams team, going into the first break with just a 2-point deficit would be ideal for the Fordham Rams.
And there it is. Free throw is good. 3-point play completed. 11-9. Long heave at the end of the quarter is no good. And that's where we stand. After one, George Mason, 11-9 lead over the Fordham Rams after the first quarter. We'll be right back to the Rose Hill Gym. But first, we got to send it to the Rose Hill Studios for a one-on-one scoreboard update with Derek Bullier. Take it away, Derek.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
The most exciting event of football season is tomorrow. Kendrick Lamar is performing a halftime show at Super Bowl 59. The Chiefs and Eagles also happen to be playing a football game the same day, with Patrick Mahomes leading the Chiefs to a potential three-peat. On the other side of the ball, the Eagles look to run all over the Chiefs with the Offensive Player of the Year, Saquon Barkley. They had a dominant championship game over the Commanders, winning 55-23, and we'll see if that translates over to the Super Bowl. In other football news, the NFL awards were announced Thursday night. Josh Allen beat out Lamar Jackson for MVP. Patrick Surtain II is your Defensive Player of the Year. Joe Burrow is the Comeback Player of the Year. Jaden Daniels and Jared Verse are the Offensive and Defensive Rookies of the Year. And Eric Armstead is the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year. Over to Friday's action on the hardwood. Miles Bridges hit a game-winning shot beyond the arc for the Hornets to push them past the Spurs 117-116 last night in Charlotte. And finally, the Suns forced overtime against the Jazz with a clutch three-pointer from Grayson Allen and Devin Booker's 47 points. They went on to win 135-127. With the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Derek Boyer.
Back here in the Bronx after one, George Mason an 11-9 lead over the Fordham Rams. We're going to take it back to our sideline reporter, Annabelle Watson. Annabelle, take it away.
Thank you, Chris. The Rams are definitely off to a decent start, but Coach Mitchell and her staff have emphasized that they need to be vigilant about setting screens. This George Mason team is second in the Atlantic 10, as we know, and averages 75 points per game. So the Rams really need to match that and make sure they are being smart and efficient on offense. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Annabelle Watson. Annabelle will be with us all afternoon long from the sideline, helping us out. Me and Tucker, Chris Carrino, Tucker Austin here with you at the start of the second quarter, 11-9. George Mason lead. Annabelle brought up there the amount of points this George Mason team usually scores. We heard from head coach of George Mason, Vanessa Blair-Lewis, they're trying to score around 80 points per game. That's where the expectation is. And Tucker, if you're talking about keeping expectations high, I don't know if they can get higher than that.
No, that's definitely a high bar, I would say, Chris. 80 points, that's a lot to be scoring in college, even on the men's side, let alone on the women's side.
Hey, Tucker,
Chris.
especially after an 11-point first quarter as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're on track to score, 44 in this game when their goal is 80?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's more credit to Fordham or if it's just an off day for George Mason, or
pace.
Maybe those expectations perhaps are slightly too lofty, although they do say shoot for the stars, don't they?
I was about to say, is it a shoot for the stars, aim for the moon sort of situation? Nonetheless, Fordham Rams need to get back on track. They had a decent start to this game, but George Mason seemed to really seize control toward the end of the quarter.
Yeah, they started the quarter 0 for 3 from beyond the arc, did they, Chris?
Yeah.
But the Patriots came storming back. They got loosened up from three-point land. They hit their next 3 as a team. They're now 3 for 6 from beyond the arc. So We'll look to see if their point total starts to inflate, if they can hit more of those threes. But Fordham, they did a good job defensively at the start of that first half, but it seemed like they ran out of gas. We'll see if they can keep their conditioning up to par with George Mason in the second.
Fordham Rams only attempting 2 3-pointers in this game, making neither. Nice hop step there in the middle of the lane from Walton. She finishes at the rim. Nice play there from the George Mason offense, getting this now to a 4-point lead. 9:38 in this second quarter, right at the start of this second quarter. Pass into Rose Nelson, right elbow. She'll jab step with the right foot. Dribble handoff, Taylor Donaldson. She'll drive through the right side of the lane. No good on the very contested layup. Rose Nelson is there on the offensive glass. Fordham once again offensively. Cross-court pass, Taylor Donaldson right wing. Her three, no good. Air ball over the entire rim. And that's going to be out of bounds on the left baseline in favor of George Mason. George Mason to take over offensively.
And that looked like a wild save attempt there from Shea Harris, Chris. She tried to save it over her head while facing away from the court, but fires it off the baseline.
Jada Brown in the backcourt, getting it into the front court for the George Mason offense. Dribble handoff Suarez on top of the Fordham script logo. Now going right around Acacia screen, now still top of the arc. Gets into Walton, left wing. Walton behind the back dribble. Now moving to the left corner, pass. Driving, Kesa, no good at the rim. Driving from the left wing, second chance, no good from Newton as well. George Mason missing twice at the rim. Fordham trying to get onto it. It's stolen back by George Mason and finished by George Mason. Habib there on the steal and finish. And George Mason playing with a ton of effort right now.
And you just feel bad for Irene Morwa under the basket there. She managed to finally fight off the George Mason rebounders and gather the defensive board, but she was hounded by 2 Patriots, and they steal the ball away to get the 2.
15-9. George Mason leads Fordham. 8:18 to go in this first half. Shea Harris has it top of the arc. And it's going to be a foul off the ball, I believe a screen foul, or someone trying to fight through a screen. It's going to be on George Mason on the floor. It's going to be inbounded in the front court for the Fordham offense. Taylor Donaldson going to take it out right in front of the George Mason bench, and Vanessa Blair-Lewis, their head coach. Taya Davis, top of the arc. She moves left around to Rose Nelson's screen. Crossover right to left at the left elbow. Back out to Taylor Donaldson. Bit of miscommunication. Got the ball back. Coach Blair Lewis wanted to travel, didn't get it. Taya Davis from the right wing, out to Rose Nelson, top of the arc. She drives to the right side of the lane, finds herself at the right block. Cross-court pass to Shea Harris, flies out of bounds. And another turnover for the Fordham offense. Fordham offense looks like in a bit of disarray.
Yeah, a bit of miscommunication there between Taylor Donaldson and Rose Nelson, followed by Rose Nelson holding the ball for just a little bit too long on that right side, just outside the paint. She tries to fire it across to the three-point line on the left side for Shea Harris, but it goes through her hands. So just a little bit forcing it too much, I think, on the offensive end are the Fordham Rams. They need to just get comfortable over there.
Comfortability, something that the Fordham Rams have been foreign to all evening so far, as that floater is good. Paula Suarez driving from the left wing and finishing at the rim. George Mason now out to an 8-point lead, 7.5 to go in this first half, 17-9 Patriots.
And she walked right into the paint, Chris, absolutely uncontested for that layup.
Taya Davis stopping with a nice step back at the right elbow. No good on the mid-ranger. A fight on the glass eventually ends up with Keisha and George Mason. Here they come. Suarez wasting no time in the right corner. That ball passed inside to Keisha. No good on her left-handed hook. Second chance opportunity. No good from Volker. And eventually it bounces out of bounds in possession of Fordham the other way. They'll take over.
I believe there was a jump ball called on the floor, Chris, under the basket.
Yeah, good call.
I think it was Taylor Donaldson who was in there under the basket battling over the rebound. There's a couple of 6-footers on this George Mason team that are constantly under the basket. They aren't necessarily good at gathering the loose ball away from the board, but Coach Bridget Mitchell said they're great at crashing the boards, but Taylor Donaldson doing a better job of keeping her hands on the basketball.
Taya Davis stopping at the right elbow, now driving through the right side of the rim lane and finishing with the right hand. Another scoop and score for Taya Davis. Fordham offense desperately needed it. 17-11, George Mason lead, 6:40 to go in this first half. Double team deep on the right wing, eventually ends up in the hands of Suarez. Skip pass right corner, Habib, her three, it's good. George Mason with another shot from long range. They're now out to a 9-point lead, 20-11, 6:20 to go in this first half.
And they got hot from three at the end of the first quarter. They've stayed hot from three into this second quarter, now up by 9.
Taya Davis trying to work some more magic, moving all the way through the right side of the lane. No good on her hop step layup, and it's going to go the other way to George Mason. George Mason stacking up the stops on the offensive end. Taya Davis just had the take to the rim. Aside from that, it has been a very, very good defensive stand for this Patriot team.
Yeah, and I think it's really like we're seeing this issue that Fordham has been running into for the past few games rear its head again, where they're getting decent looks and they're getting the looks that they want at the rim. I mean, that last one, Taya Davis pretty much dropped her defender after bouncing into the paint, goes up for the lay, but it can't go. Fordham getting the looks that they need, but they can't get them to fall.
Newton, top of the arc. George Mason trying to get a look that they can get to fall, as that mid-ranger is good. Not a mid-ranger, a drive and floater. That one right at the entrance of the free throw line of the paint. Jada Brown getting it to go and bringing George Mason to a double-digit lead, 22-11, 5:40 to go in this first half. What a second quarter from the Patriots. Fordham offense looking to have some miscommunication offensively. Taylor Donaldson, top of the arc, stopping at the right block, spinning back out to Shea Harris, deep right wing. She'll fake the jumper, drive inside, no good on the floater, and Mitchell's there on the defensive glass. Once again, George Mason going offensively. Newton, spot up three, right wing, no good, off the right side of the rim. Newton's there for her own shot, and she gets fouled. Great hustle once again on both ends for the Patriots.
Looks like Wilson Saltos might be a little banged up for the Fordham Rams after that play. She comes up hobbling just a bit. She's going to readjust that left shoe. But Fordham's still struggling mightily on the offensive end. It seems like they can't find the bottom of the cup to save their lives. Meanwhile, George Mason's starting to do really whatever they want on the offensive end, be it from beyond the three-point line where they've heated up, or be it in the paint where they're kind of just streaking through the painted area wherever and whenever they want, getting to the rim as often as they please.
And we spoke about a balance in this George Mason attack, in this George Mason offense, and we're definitely seeing it so far this afternoon. Jada Brown at the top of the arc, almost losing it, gathering it back. Now drifting over to the right wing, going left around a screen, taking the jumper. It's good from the top of the key. Jada Brown from mid-range. She's got George Mason out to their largest lead of the afternoon, 24-11, 4:50 to go in this second quarter.
And that's a professional two-pointer, Chris, from just a step inside of the three-point line. She pulls for the long J.
Now in the right corner, Kayla Berry. Up top, Taya Davis. Top of the arc, faking the crossover, out to Taylor Donaldson, and a travel. Hesitation on the dribble from Taya Davis. It caused concern from the referee, and another turnover for the Fordham offense. They're stacking these up.
Yep, and the errors just compound upon themselves as this is beginning to look like, and I hate to say it, but I think by nature of me being witness to Fordham's previous games, at least over the past week, it looks like the first half of the SLU game. It looks like the first quarter of the George Washington game. And if you happen to watch or listen to either of those segments of Fordham women's basketball over the past week, you'd know that it's just a lot of offensive misfiring, miscommunication, and seemingly like nothing can go their way. I mean, you go down to this end, and Taya Davis, of all people, is getting called for a travel here. Like, it's almost insane, but, you know, we watch it play out, and I've seen it happen before. I just have to hope that Fordham can kind of pull themselves out of this, because I've seen them sink like this before. And they're down by 13 now, but there is plenty of time left in this game. 4:34 to go in the second quarter. There's an entire second half left to be played at the end of this first half. But Chris, I hate to look at this and sort of be a downer, but I mean, I've seen this team do this before, and it's hard to not think that it's going to continue happening the rest of this game.
Right, and we talked about, you know, even some of the areas that Fordham really excels offensive rebounding. They're getting out offensive rebound in this game 7-4. Just looking at some of the turnover categories, specifically just turnovers in themselves, it's obviously been a discrepancy. Fordham with 5 to George Mason's Solid only turnover, and then points off turnovers as well. A large distinction. 7 points off turnovers for George Mason to Fordham 0. A big discrepancy that may just be the discrepancy in this game right now, Tucker.
Yeah, they're being out offensive rebounded. They're being out defensive rebounded. They're being outscored on turnovers and in transition. George Mason is playing better. It's really just an all-around great game from the Patriots to start and an all-around game from the Fordham Rams to start. I mean, they did have a decent start to that first quarter. The first half, they looked like they looked perfectly matched up with this George Mason team. But when they ran out of gas in the second half of the first quarter, it doesn't seem like they've really gotten that energy back. Maybe this timeout can give them a little bit of that energy back. Maybe the halftime break can give them some of that energy back. But I don't know what needs to happen. But I think I said this during the George Washington game, that they need to flip a switch. In the GW game, they did flip a switch in the third and fourth quarter. They brought it all the way back. But it's still early, but the switch needs to be flipped now if Fordham wants to go the distance and have this be a close game in the fourth, because we can't forget, George Mason's the second best team in the A-10. And when you're playing against top competition in the conference, you really can't make any mistakes. You can't give them anything that's going to give them an advantage.
And Tucker, we are still early in this game, but it does seem that the damage has been done. A 13-point lead already for this George Mason team so early in this game. I'm just not sure if the damage has been done already, Tucker.
And it's been a 7-0 run in the past 2 minutes 6. Listen to this, Chris. A 21-5 run in the last 8 minutes and 50 seconds of game time. So that is a huge, huge swing. And it's really put Fordham straight into the hole that they now find themselves in.
Fordham in a hole. 24-11, 4.5 to go in this first half. It's now Mitchell. Dribble handoff to Walton, left wing. Now stopping at the right elbow. Back out. Brown. Jada Brown directing the offense. Pass on the right wing, almost intercepted. Habib now has it mid-range. Guarded by Taya Davis. Now given to Walton. On the right wing, foot inside the three-point line. Drives inside. Got it, and the foul. Walton with the impressive offensive move, adding to the offensive prowess of this Patriot team this afternoon. It's now 26-11. George Mason lead, 4 minutes to go in this first half.
And that's got to be one of the more ridiculous moves I think I've ever seen under the basket, Chris. Zahira Walton, what a move inside. She left her feet, then brings the ball around the defender to go up for the underhanded lay through contact and makes her free throw to make it a three-point play, Chris.
Yeah. Three-point play, our second completed three-point play of the afternoon. That one makes it 16, 27-11, just under 4 minutes to go in this first half. Taya Davis has it, right elbow. Fordham offense desperate for something. Pass inside to Mora, lob pass. Right-handed layup, no good, heavily contested. Mora got her own rebound, out to Taya Davis. Her three, no good, but she's fouled behind the line. 3 free throws for Taya Davis, and a big opportunity for the Fordham offense.
Yeah, and it's one of those shots where the shooter, normally you see three-point shooters kind of leave their feet a little bit, go to the floor, looking for that call. I'm not sure how much contact there actually was on Taya Davis, but she did hit the floor and wins the call. But it looks like Fordham is going to take it from the side.
Yeah, it seems
I believe there's a discrepancy with the referees. I thought that was a three-point shot that they called the foul on, although you may have been right, Chris. There may have been a call on the floor after the shot went up.
I thought it was 3 free throws. I did think it was a shooting foul behind the line.
But it seems like
it's going to be an inbounded pass on a reach-in foul. It'll be inbounded to Taya Davis. Taya Davis still has it. Now at the right elbow, dribble handoff, Taylor Donaldson behind her. In the right corner, Veljovic. Pump fake, drives baseline, spins in the middle of the lane, and finishes at the rim. Anastasia Veljovic, pretty stuff, and Fordham offense desperately needed it.
Oh, needed it so bad, and it's so good that Anastasia Veljovic, the freshman, gets on the scoreboard. Maybe Fordham can get more out of her the rest of this game.
Pass left corner, Suarez, jab step in the mid-range. A floater is no good. Didn't even catch a rim, and it'll go the other way for Fordham. Fordham getting stops defensively, very important stops.
Yeah, necessary, I would say,
stops
going forward. I mean, ideally, if you're the Fordham Rams, you'd like to keep George Mason maybe under 35. before the half the rest of this way. George Mason at 27 points right now.
Pass left wing to Taylor Donaldson, moving right around to Caleb Berry's screen. Now top of the arc, takes a quick three. No good, off back iron. Rimming in and out. Now George Mason coming the other way with speed, as they have all day. Out on the right wing, Suarez. Inside, wide open on the right block, Mitchell. No good on the shot. And it's going to be Fordham catching a break there, now coming back offensively.
Yeah, a couple decent bounces on the defensive end for the Fordham Rams.
At the right elbow, pass on the right wing, Taylor Donaldson. Donaldson gonna fake right, now go right around a screen to Berry. Berry's right wing three. No good for Caleb Berry, off the right side of the rim, and a foul in the backcourt. Maybe a frustration foul on Fordham. Nonetheless, George Mason will have it inbounded their possession.
And Rose Nelson's going to check in here for Caleb Berry. Fordham, I believe, no, this wasn't the starting rotation, as Donaldson did not start this game. Taya Davis started in place of Donaldson.
Top of the arc, Suarez. Into the right elbow, Keisha. Keisha backing down Rose Nelson. Now at the left block. Blocked by Rose Nelson. Nelson blocked it. Another stop for the Ram defense. Now coming the other way, trying to translate it offensively. Nelson, top of the arc. Back out Taya Davis. Taya Davis crossover left to right. Floater middle of the lane is good. Taya Davis, another bucket for the Fordham offense. She's got them within 12, 27-15. Mitchell almost losing it for George Mason. Got it back. Out to Suarez, right wing. Faking the pass. Now pass left corner. Jada Brown, her three. No good off the right side of the rim. Batted back out. Suarez gets it. Pass downstairs quickly. Made and the foul. Once again, Walton. 3-point play. She puts George Mason back out to a 12-point lead. a 14-point lead. 29-15, 1:30 to go in this first half. What a recovery from the George Mason offense.
Yeah, and after a handful of stops there for the Fordham Rams that were very, very needed from Fordham, you know, George Mason finally gets the opportunity after an offensive rebound to get the ball underneath. Walton, of course, the sizable forward at 5'11". Although I'm not sure I like the foul call on this one, Chris, because Morwa had her hands straight up in the air in the paint, and she didn't look like she liked it either. The referees look like they're talking about something. Maybe it was trying to figure out how to get this substitution in. Paula Suarez takes a seat.
Yeah, a bit of complication between the spots to the left and right of the paint. Now it seems like everything is good. Newton will try to complete the three-point play. She does. Walton, 2 for 2 at the free throw line this afternoon. 12.6 rebounds and 2 assists. A heck of a first half for her. 30-15, George Mason doubling the Fordham point total. 1:20 to go in this first half. On the left wing, Taya Davis, top of the arc. Taylor Donaldson, her quick three. No good on the catch and fire. Rose Nelson is there on the offensive glass. Second chance for the Rams. To Taya Davis, top of the arc. Going through the right side of the lane, stopping at the right block. Inside to Mora, lob pass. Under the basket, can't get a shot up. It'll go out of bounds off of George Mason. Fordham will have it once again offensively.
Chris, if the play on the last possession with Morwa and Walton under the basket is a foul on Morwa, I have no idea how they didn't just call a foul on Morwa's shot just now.
Beljevic, left corner, inside to Mora, tried to lob it. Rose Nelson has it. Right corner to Taylor Donaldson, and a travel called. Travel called on Rose Nelson, trying to attempt to pass to Taylor Donaldson in the right corner, and another unforced turnover for the Fordham Rams.
Yep, thinking about passing and trying to get out of the lane at the same time was Rose Nelson. She does both at the same time, and unfortunately that is against the rules, so it's going to be another turnover for the Fordham Rams.
Paula Suarez bringing it up for the George Mason offense. 49 seconds to go in this first half. 30-15 George Mason lead over the Fordham Rams. Newton at the right elbow, crossing right to left. Tried to get it out to Suarez. Almost stolen. Ball is loose. Taya Davis has it on the ground. And it's a timeout called from Bridgette Mitchell. Good job there from Coach Bridgette Mitchell and Taya Davis to get the possession back and give their team another chance at the end of the half.
You know, I almost lost it there for a second, Chris, because I saw the possession arrows pointing to the Fordham Rams. Or I believe it's in the direction of the Fordham Rams. So I thought for a second there they were calling a jump ball and not a timeout because Taya Davis was fully laid out on the floor on top of that ball as if it was a football. It looked like they just fumbled. Taya Davis slides across the floor and grabs it with her whole body. But luckily, Bridgette Mitchell comes in with the timeout, 35.9 to go in the second quarter. Fordham with a chance to maybe put a couple more points up on the board, although I think they'd like a 3 to bring it within 12. Fordham has to be careful here, though. If they do lose the ball, you cannot foul George Mason. George Mason currently in the bonus before halftime. You don't want to give the Patriots any free points from the stripe before going to the break.
Yeah, 5 fouls on the Fordham Rams as a team. In the bonus, as Tucker said, George Mason with just 2. And with 35 seconds left, Fordham offense going to try to be productive. 30-15, George Mason lead over the Rams. Taya Davis, top of the arc. Stuck. Taking a jumper, top of the arc, no good after she lost her dribble. Decided to shoot it, missed, and now it's 16 seconds. George Mason with a final chance. Up 15, Suarez has it. Top of the arc, going to settle down the offense, waiting for one final shot. 6 seconds on the clock. Losing it out of bounds. It's going to stay on this side with George Mason. They'll inbound it. 4.3 on the game clock. 30-15 still, George Mason.
Not sure I saw anything developing for George Mason there at the end, but good job by Taya Davis to get around Paula Suarez above her and tip the ball away.
Walton in the backcourt. Now at the top of the arc, takes a 3, no good, off the left side of the backboard, and that will do it for us for our first half from the Bronx. George Mason Patriots with a very impressive first half performance, a 30-15 lead over the hosting Fordham Rams. They did it almost bell to bell, Tucker.
Yeah, and for George Mason, you know, they are missing Kennedy Harris, their leading scorer on the season, but that seemingly doesn't matter in this game, Chris, as it was Jada Brown in that first half who really filled the role of Kennedy Harris very nicely. She had 9 points, 4 for 6 from the floor, 1 for 3 from beyond the arc, throw in 3 rebounds with that, and that's a solid first half performance from Jada Brown. Although the leading scorer for George Mason was Zahira Walton, and we were saying her name constantly in that first half, Chris. She's a presence and certainly a force to be reckoned with, especially in the paint as well, where most of these George Mason players are. But, you know, for the Fordham Rams, it was nice to see Taya Davis back out there in this game after she didn't play against George Washington. You know, it looked like she had lost a touch on her floater a little bit against St. Louis, but, you know, he gets a day off against George Washington, and now in this game leading the Rams with 8 points, 4 for 8 from the floor. So good performance from her in the first half, but Fordham with a lot of ground to cover if they want to get back into this one in the second.
A lot of ground to cover for the Fordham Rams. 30-15, George Mason lead over the Rams as, of course, Tucker just said, Zahira Walton leading the game with 11 points so far in this first half. We'll be back with second half action from the Bronx. But first, we're going to send it back to the Rose Hill Studios for a halftime report hosted by Zach Cordova. Pound for pounds, Zach Cordova. Take it away, Zach.
The one-on-one halftime report.
Welcome into the one-on-one halftime report. I'm Zach Cordova, joined alongside Derek Bellier, and we've made it to the halfway point here at Rose Hill, and so far it's been a tough afternoon for the Rams as they trail 30-15 to the surging George Mason Patriots. But we're going to talk about it. But before we get to that, Derek is going to get you a quick update to kick us off here.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Staying in New York for this update, your Knicks play the reigning champions Boston Celtics in the Garden tonight at 8:30, while your new Brooklyn Nets had a big game against the Jimmy Butler-less Heat yesterday, winning 102-86. Over to the ice, the New Jersey Devils continue to battle the Canadiens. Score is currently 2-0, your Devils. The Rangers travel to play the Blue Jackets as they look to stay in playoff contention. Game starts at 7, and your Islanders also take a trip, but to Minnesota instead to play the Wild, starting at 8. Looking ahead, baseball fans can finally rejoice as pitchers and catchers officially report soon. February 12th for the Yankees and the Mets, and the whole team reports February 14th. The Yankees play their first game on February 21st against the Rays, and the Mets play their first on February 22nd against the Astros. With the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Derek Boyer.
Now, after that, thank you for that, by the way. Thank you for the update here. Fordham's coming into this game with 3 straight losses. They don't look inspired coming into this game so far, I got to be honest. And I get it's an early Saturday morning. We're in the middle. We're in the middle of swing of things at school and everything going on. But this Fordham team just looks like they're a little bit asleep this morning. It's been tough so far for them. They haven't been able to get shots to go. They're turning the ball over. 0 for 7 from 3 to start the game so far, and some of those misses have been bad. I mean, horrible error balls.
Yeah.
What do the Rams need to do to get back in the second half?
Well, to your point, they look like they just, as you said, they've lost 3 in a row. They look like they have no momentum. And the way to not fix that is to go 0 for 7 from 3 is not going to fix that. So you kind of got to go back to the basics of what you've seen has worked in their wins. They've got to score more in the point. They're being out rebounded right now. Their big thing has always been offensive rebounding, defensive rebound, just rebounding. But right now, it's a close margin. Obviously, 21 for George Mason and 19 for Fordham. But they're also 8 to 6 on offensive rebounds. Their big thing has always been rebounding. And when you're not rebounding as much as obviously you're half the score as George Mason, that's not a way to go back to your basics and try and get a win when you're 0 for 3 in the last 3.
Yeah, it definitely feels like to me like an effort thing. Fordham, just like I said, they look like they're asleep out there today, and George Mason's just getting in the paint. They're going in there. There was a play earlier in the first quarter where George Mason quite literally ripped the ball away from a Fordham player right under the hoop to put it right back up and get another point. It's just second chance points, second chance hustle. George Mason is here to win today. They're walking in like they are the better team. They're coming in with the, I believe, 20-3 record into this one where Fordham's been struggling of the late, but George Mason's just enforcing themselves today. They're coming in like they're the better team. They're holding themselves to that, and they're playing very, very aggressively, where Fordham just almost seems like they're putting it in the hands of one player. Taya Davis leads the team with 8 points, and besides that, nobody has above 3. There's only 3 other Fordham players with points on the board, where George Mason a little bit more of a balanced attack. Walton has 11, Habib has 5, Suarez has 5, and Brown has 9 as well. They're attacking from everywhere. They're 4 for 13 from 3, and like I said, Fordham 0 for 7 from 3 so far, and even the layups. They're missing a lot of open layups. Tucker mentioned it. They're getting the looks. It's not like Fordham isn't getting the looks here. It's just they're not converting. And then even when they are on the offensive end, a lot of stalling. It almost seems like a one-woman show with Taya Davis just giving her the ball and let's see what she can do.
Yeah, 100%. When one of your players has more than half your points, it doesn't seem like you're kind of very balanced. And obviously, as you said, even when they are on offense, they're only shooting 25%. That's not, I mean, like we were saying, they have looks. Shooting 25% means you have looks to take. You're just not hitting those shots. And as you said, even when they are on offense, they're kind of stalling. There's travel calls. There's turnovers. They have 6 turnovers so far in this game. So even when they are on offense, there's constantly just mistakes and like stuff that should not be happening when you're on offense that's why they're down 30-15.
Even a couple travels in there, just unforced errors for the Rams today. That just seems to be killing them. Anytime they seem to get anything going, they'll get a nice bucket on one play, and then the next possession they're coming down and they're getting called for a travel violation or throwing the ball out of bounds. It's a backbreaker every time, and we're talking about this team coming in now off of 3 straight losses. The momentum's definitely not there for Fordham. They need a spark, but you're not going to get that spark back if you're continuing to make errors on the offensive side of the ball that just George Mason isn't even forcing. It's more just them being there and Fordham almost beating themselves today.
Yeah, exactly. Like George Mason, like as you said, like Fordham's just they're playing against themselves at the moment. They're forcing themselves to try and do too much maybe sometimes, and that's kind of just they're causing mistakes that they're doing to themselves. Like as you said, the travels, that's not something the other team is doing to you. Like maybe a little bit of pressure, but that's not something that George Mason is doing defensively that's hurting you. You're just hurting yourself at that point. That's kind of the big thing.
Even giving up a couple and one opportunities for George Mason, just sloppy fouls in the paint, just poor paint defense at this point. I've seen a lot of times where a George Mason player has gotten into the paint almost uncontested, just running right by the Rams at the top of the key, and it just seems like there hasn't been an answer yet. There hasn't been a response. There's not really an inspiration between the Rams' play today. And the second half, I mean, even if they do lose this game, you got to get something going. You may drop 4 in a row today if they're not able to come back in the second half. Going forward through the rest of their A-10 schedule here, they got to try to get something going. They got to try to build something. And even if it isn't necessarily a win today, you got to try to find that spark, I believe, now in the second half. Try to play a little bit more inspired.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, even if they don't come out with a win, people have to look at this game and say, wow, Fordham put up a fight. They were down by 15 in the first half, but in that second half, they started a comeback. Maybe they didn't come all the way back, but they got it in within 5, within 4. They played it good against a good team, and they looked like they're able to make a run at some point in the season, maybe not now, but at some point later in the season, they can actually win games against these top teams, and they can kind of take those places ahead of them.
Yeah, at least be in it. And the biggest killer for Fordham in this half was at one point George Mason went on a 24-5 run. You can't allow that to happen. 24-5, just no answer, no fight back from the Rams in that. And it is a tale of two halves. You do get two halves in basketball. The Rams could very much come back and get their own run going. We saw George Mason struggle from the field at the start of the game, showing they're human. The Rams are able to compete with this team. It's more of a matter of, can they get that spark back? They got to start knocking down some of these easy shots. Sometimes the shots aren't always falling. Eventually they will. You keep putting them up, but it's the effort plays, it's the hustle plays, it's the mistakes on the offensive end with the turnovers. Fordham's just gotta want it a little bit more. And like we mentioned, the offensive glass, it's not a huge margin at the moment, but the plays that has happened, like ripping the ball away under the basket, or just George Mason having 3 or 4 girls in the paint at all times trying to get that offensive board, it just looks like they want it more. And every time they're able to get one of those boards, put it back up for more points, it's a backbreaker for Fordham. It just puts them further and further into that hole.
Yeah, and like you were talking, their big run kind of was helped a lot by their three-point shooting. At one point, George Mason was shooting 50% from 3. They were 4 for 8. They did slow down, though. They're 0 for 5 in their last 5. That does show, like you said, they are human. They will make mistakes. They will miss their shots. That is a big thing that should be highlighted. George Mason is not a perfect team, of course. No team is perfect. Sure, you're down 15, but they had their big run. Now that run's over. Maybe you can have a run of your own, like you said. There's, like as you said again, it is two halves. Maybe you won't, like as we were talking about, maybe you won't come back all the way, but you have to at least contest, make a run of your own. Maybe that isn't like shooting threes. They're 0 for 7 as we were talking about earlier. Maybe it's through getting in the paint more, hustle plays as we were talking about. There was one play, Taylor Donaldson sprinted across the court to try and make a play. We need more of that. We need more hustle. We need more effort. That's a big thing that we need to highlight. And honestly, slowing down their fouls, they got in the bonus at one point, and if they're in the bonus and you keep fouling, maybe you have to make a foul to make a play or something, then you're just giving them free throws. You can't give them points like that.
And it feels like the fouls are
unnecessary.
They're more of like a sloppy thing just because this Fordham team, they just look low energy. They're just making plays almost out of frustration too.
Mm-hmm.
Just going out and hacking somebody happens sometimes, but hey, if Fordham's not going to get back in the game playing like that, and it's only going to further continue to kill that momentum, continue to bring down almost the morale of the team, you want to start to get something going. You can't fall too deep in a hole after dropping 3 games in a row. We keep bringing that up, but it feels important going into this game for the Rams. This is a tough team they're playing against, and regardless of whether they thought they were going to win this game going in, you got to play inspired. You got to try to build something because the rest of this A-10 schedule is not going to be forgiving to you. You got to keep going forward and find new ways to at least build upon performances. And I thought in that first quarter, starting off the game, Fordham looked like they could play with this team. GMU was missing just as many shots. They're not necessarily this dominant force against the Rams. It's just more the Rams making mistakes on their own, not playing like they think that they could play with this team. And I think that if they go into the second half, look at it like it's a 0-0 ball game, just try to get something going. 15 points is not the largest deficit in the world. You just got to chip away at it.
Yeah, and I kind of want to talk about that first quarter. They looked, as you said, inspired. They looked like they could compete, and it was a close game. And then it kind of seemed like once that second half started, GMU kind of went on a little bit of a run. They looked like they lost all motivation to try and break their losing streak. Mm-hmm. They looked like a little bit their effort dropped. There was a lot of fast plays in that first quarter, constantly running back and forth. Could bring the energy down a little bit. But if George Mason has that high energy still, Fordham has to match that or maybe even surpass that to stay in this game. And it's just that first quarter and the second quarter just look completely different score-wise and effort-wise. Just Fordham just looks demotivated. They look like all the momentum is on George Mason's side. It just doesn't look great for Fordham at the moment.
When the shots aren't falling, it's tough to get it going, but you got to get the energy up. You got to get into the paint. You got to just get into the paint, draw a foul. George Mason doesn't seem afraid to attack the paint. Fordham needs to get in there. Get some more people on the boards. Taya Davis can't do it herself. I'd love to see Taylor Donaldson get going. She's shown in the past that she can put up some good performances. She's just got to get going from the field. And I think a lot of the shots that Fordham has taken this far, they've knocked down a couple tough buckets, but get the easy ones first. Instead of throwing up all the threes, they're 0 for 7 from threes so far. Haven't been shooting it very well from there. Haven't been shooting very well, period, in their last couple performances. Get the easy shots, get to the hoop, draw some fouls, make some effort plays. Fordham can get back into this game.
Yeah, and I think that as we were talking about the shots falling, a big thing. Taylor Donaldson at the moment is 0 for 6 total. She has not made a shot yet. 16 minutes played, 0 for 6. She's 0 for 3 from 3 as well. It's probably a frustration thing. Just keep shooting. Maybe if she keeps shooting threes, maybe she thinks she keeps shooting threes, eventually she'll make one, she'll get back in her groove. That's not really the best way to go about it. You got to kind of start small, maybe some layups, maybe some easy looks, and then kind of build on that, get some confidence. Then you can maybe go back to the three-point line if you're feeling good, maybe if you're getting closer to this game. But Taylor Donaldson's a huge piece of the offense to just not have it all in this game. 0 for 6 total. It's just, she's a huge piece that they're missing, and that's kind of a really big reason why they only have 15 points. And Taya Davis can't. She has almost all the points. She can't do it by herself, as you were saying. Taylor Donaldson or someone needs to step up and be another offensive piece for Fordham.
Yeah, definitely, and get to the free throw line. That was a quick first half. Only 3 free throws combined between the two teams.
Mm-hmm.
George Mason 2 for 2, of course, and Fordham 1 for 1. Get to the line. Get some points there. Get it the tough way. Effort plays. That's really all it comes down to, I think, for Fordham. They got to find a way to bring it back. Try to find a way to build some momentum. Even through this losing streak, they got to find a way to bring it back. Get something going. That's all I ask for at the end of in this second half. But that'll do it for the one-on-one halftime report. Fordham trails George Mason 30-15 here at Rose Hill. Ivan Zach Cordova alongside Derek Bollier. And the second half is coming right up with Chris Carrino and Tucker Austin on the call. Don't go anywhere.
Back here in the Rose Hill Gym for second half action between the Patriots of George Mason and the Fordham Rams, 30-15. George Mason with a large lead after the first half. We're going to send it quickly once again to our sideline reporter, Annabelle Watson. Annabelle, take it over.
Thank you, Chris. Seems to be some frustration on the bench with the amount of fouls. Additionally, Coach Mitchell told the bench that they simply need to shoot the ball, but of course, these shots need to get in the basket. George Mason was obviously getting more shots off in the half with Fordham's 25.9% field goal compared to George Mason's 35.3% at the half. Definitely the unforced turnovers have a lot to do with this, but back to you guys.
Thank you, Annabelle Watson. Annabelle will be popping in at least 2 more times throughout the afternoon as we get second half action started quickly. A bounce pass inside. No good on the shot very quickly there for Kesa on the roll, which will go to the line for 2 foul shots.
And Rose Nelson picking up the foul there for the Fordham Rams. Start of the second half here, and Fordham really needs to get something going. I liked a lot of what our crew in the Rose Hill studio had to say during the halftime show, particularly from Zach about George Mason being not quite dominant in this game, but Fordham just showing minimal fight outside of that first half of the first quarter.
First free throw, no good.
So we really need to see more inspiration from this Fordham team. A little bit of, a little oomph, a little something, show a little urgency, like you want to win this game, like you don't want to lose 4 in a row, Chris.
Milani Kesa making the second, splitting at the line. 16-point lead for George Mason, 31-15. Veljevic at the right elbow, now driving all the way to the right block. Pass, cross-court pass, Rose Nelson, left corner, driving inside and picking up the offensive foul. Rose Nelson, another turnover for the Fordham Ram offense, not the way that they wanted to start this one off in the second half.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough way to start. Tough first offensive possession for the Fordham Rams. Bridgette Mitchell sitting on the bench for the Fordham Rams looking, she had a blank stare on her face, I'd say, Chris.
Left corner, quick 3, Newton, no good off back iron. Defensive rebound tracked down by Taylor Donaldson. Rams in transition. Veljevic at the rim, finishing with the layup.
and the Fordham Rams getting a bucket from the field. It's been too long. 31-17, 9 minutes to go in this third quarter. Right corner, after an array of passes, no good from Habib. Rebound by Fordham, starting to count up the stops. Taya Davis from the right wing. Nice bounce pass downstairs to Mora. She has trouble with it and eventually loses it. Suarez has it and is running. Patriots have numbers. Mid-ranger, no good from the left elbow from Suarez, and Fordham now has it once again.
Very quickly back and forth, Chris.
Yeah. Taya Davis through the middle of the lane. Euro step, no good on the floater, but she got fouled on the shot attempt. She'll go to the line for 2 free throws for the Fordham Rams. They have not had many free throws tonight. Actually, 1 free throw, to be exact. They're 1 for 1 from the line tonight. It kind of goes to a general conversation at the lack of makes this Fordham Ram team has seen. 0 for 7 from the three-point line, 8 for 28 from the field. Not only at the free throw line, just in general. Tucker, this Fordham team has not seen much of the ball go through the net, as that first free throw is good.
And it's nice to see that one go. It's nice to see any go at this point. I mean, Anastasia Veljovic getting it done in transition off the pass from Taylor Donaldson, so that looked very good. As there's a lane violation against George Mason. No, against...
It's going to be against Fordham,
so
that will be negated, and it'll be George Mason ball. Suarez going to take it up for the Patriots. Still sitting on a 13-point lead, 31-18, 8:20 to go in this third quarter. Downstairs, left block, Keisha. Guarded tightly by Moore, now under the basket, loses the ball. It'll stay on this side with George Mason off of Fordham.
Any disruption is good disruption at this point, Chris, regardless of if it stays in the hands of George Mason. If they can break up their offense and get them out of rhythm, that's going to be a good thing for the Fordham Rams.
Now quickly out of the right wing, Jada Brown stripped in her shooting motion by Anastasia Veljovic. Now Fordham coming the other way. Taya Davis leading the pack at the right wing. Pass right corner, Taylor Donaldson, pump fake, drives baseline, puts up a left-handed floater, no good. Fight on the offensive glass. Mora gets it, tries to save it, and passes it right to Suarez to George Mason. Now George Mason offensively working. Brown coming the other way. Left corner pass. Habib doesn't take the shot. It's going to be a reset offensively. Brown has it out of the left wing. Lob pass inside. Keisha trying to pass it to Walton next to her. Gets intercepted. Now a fight on the ground. Taya Davis eventually gets it to Veljovic. Veljovic is moving. What a pace this game is being played at. Veljovic stopping at the left wing, behind the arc. Now in the left corner, she'll take a 3. No good off the left side of the backboard. And it'll be slowed down by George Mason. Fordham continuing to miss shots.
Well, good job by Veljovic on the steal, but just doing a little bit too much coming the other way, forcing the 3.
Out of the right wing, Newton no good on the turnaround layup. Veljovic, another rebound for Fordham. They're going to look for an offensive bucket. They've been few and far between so far this afternoon. 31-18, Veljovic top of the arc for Fordham. Trying to work on this deficit. Pass downstairs to Mora. Mora loses her footing, and that ball flies out of bounds. It seems this Fordham team getting creative with the ways they're turning the ball over.
Yeah, and the more I watch Morwa go to battle with Habib under the basket, the more I wonder if we shouldn't be hearing a couple more whistles in favor of the Fordham Rams. Morwa's getting bodied under the basket at the moment. She goes to the ground again, and it's a turnover against the Rams, but no call. I would say a no call that time, as Morwa basically only went to the ground because of the contact that she made with Habib.
Suarez, top of the arc, drifting over to the left wing. Pass in the left corner. Brown back up to Suarez. Suarez on the left elbow. Walton takes the free throw jumper. It's good, plus the foul. Walton another and one this afternoon, and she's got George Mason out to their biggest lead of the afternoon so far. 33-18, 15-point lead, 6:30 to go in this third quarter.
And it's more of that thing, more of things just not quite going the Rams' way. I mean, on one end of the floor, you have Irene Morwa going to battle under the basket, and the ball gets away from her because she goes down with contact and there's no call. Meanwhile, on the other end, Morwa just putting her hands up, trying to stay in front of the driving offensive player, and gets whistled for the foul on the floater.
That free throw is good. 34-18, George Mason lead. Last Fordham point from the field, coming 9 minutes to go in the third quarter. Almost 3 minutes of game time since then. Shea Harris has it, top of the arc. Pass on the left wing, Taya Davis. Taya Davis crossover, left to right through the middle of the lane, now puts up the right-handed scoop, no good. A fight on the glass from both sides. Wilson Saltos is there, passes it to Taya Davis, who loses it. Leads to a George Mason fast break, 3-on-1. Going through the middle of the lane, a Euro step. Walton put up a shot, didn't get it to go, but fouled, and once again, Zahira Walton will go to the line. Somewhere she's very comfortable with so far this afternoon.
Yeah, and on the season as well, 75% from the stripe on the year is Zahira Walton. Her 14.4 points per game on the team is worth second best behind Kennedy Harris, but of course with Kennedy Harris injured and out of the game today, that leaves Zahira Walton as the leading scorer on the team for George Mason. Certainly proving that stat to be true in this game.
Second free throw is good for Walton. Fordham, as I just said, last field goal, 9 minutes to go in the third quarter, now over 3 minutes of game time. Their last field goal before that, 2 minutes to go in the first half. That was a long time ago. Fordham struggling from the field. Taylor Donaldson, top of the arc. Pass in the right corner, Kayla Berry. Kayla Berry struggling to find an option, passes it downstairs, it's intercepted on the pass. It'll go out of bounds off of George Mason. It'll stay here with the Rams.
Yeah, just off the left shoulder of the camera guy sitting behind the basket. Taya Davis will inbound for the Fordham Rams.
Taya Davis out of the right baseline, inbounding deep on the right wing, Taylor Donaldson. Taylor Donaldson now going through the left side of the lane, blocked at the rim, and a shot clock violation. George Mason with another big defensive stand, and they've got Fordham with an 18-point deficit, 36-18, 5.5 to go in this third quarter. Doubling the Fordham total so far. Not even 20 points for the Fordham Ram offense, 5.5 to go in the third quarter, Tucker.
Well, it just the score, Chris, it keeps getting worse. Fordham really needs to flip a switch now, absolutely now, if they want any kind of a chance of getting back into this one.
Top of the arc, Newton working on Shea Harris. Right to left crossover, middle of the lane, pass right corner. Suarez's three, it's good! Once again, Paula Suarez from three-point land, and she's got George Mason to their first 20-point lead of the night, 39-18 this afternoon, 5:57 to go in this third quarter. What an offensive performance from George Mason.
And if they get hot from three, like they could off of that Paula Suarez three ball, you know, this could get out of hand, Chris. I don't want to be the one to have to say it, but we saw in that first half, George Mason, when they started hitting threes, they hit them in bunches, and it's not just one player. So if they get hot from back there, Fordham might not have an answer for the rest of this one.
It just may be out of hand already for the Fordham Rams. George Mason with a 39-18 lead over the Fordham Rams, 4:51 to go in this third quarter. You're listening to Fordham Women's Basketball. We'll be right back on WFUV Sports.
Hi, my name is Ryan Rucco, WFUV class of 2008. WFUV is your home for all things Fordham athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to our Saturday show, One on One. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV sports.
Chris Carrino, Tucker Austin joining you back from the Rose Hill Gym in the Bronx. Fordham with a major deficit halfway through this third quarter, 39-18. George Mason leads the Fordham Rams, 4:51 to go in this third quarter. Tucker, it's been a frustrating game for this Fordham Ram team, especially a frustrating segment of play for the Fordham Rams.
I mean, dating back to probably the 5-minute mark in the first quarter, it has just been frustration for the Fordham Rams in this game. You could call them the frustration Rams if you were a punny man, but
are you a punny man?
Not today. Not today. I'm not having pun today, Chris.
No puns today.
But the Fordham Rams, I mean, you almost would have liked to see them wake up like 7 minutes ago, you know? I mean, at this point, it's tough to watch, but they just need to keep going. You know, keep battling, keep the tenacity up, and I know they haven't been making a lot, but they got to keep shooting. You know, like the ball's not going to go in the hoop without you actually shooting.
They do, and they've only taken 8 3-pointers all afternoon long so far, missing all 8 of them.
At this point, you wonder if they're not scared to take the 3 now because they've missed the first 8, and they've had games this year. I think the Rhode Island game, I'm fairly certain they missed 12, all 12 of the 3-pointers that they took in that one. They only made a pair against St. Louis. Even fewer against George Washington, or not against George Washington. They started hitting the 3s against GW. But it's back to this weird 3-pointer drought that they get caught up in. And I think you can also look at Taylor Donaldson a little bit because she tends to be sort of the heart and soul of this team. When she gets going, the rest of the team gets going, and she has been ice cold tonight, Chris, to say the least.
Tucker, a very wise man, once said, Dion Waiters, Champ Cheese, once said, I'd rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for 10, because if I went 0 for 10, that meant I stopped shooting. It's very profound from Champ Cheese. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Fordham Rams offense working. Shea Harris going through the right side of the lane. Good at the rim, plus the foul. Shea Harris injecting some energy into this Fordham offense. They're now within 20, 39, 24, 39 to go in this third quarter.
Put a little juice in the crowd there, too, Chris. Give them a little something to cheer about when there hasn't been much this game. What a lay from Shea Harris. Through the contact, just a little bit of English and rolls it into the cup.
That one good. 3-point play for Shea Harris. She's got Fordham within 18. George Mason offense going to try and score once again. It's Brown and Suarez working out of the backcourt into the front court. Played up ahead to Mitchell. All the way up in front of the rim to Walton. She misses in front of the rim. And the Fordham offense with another stop. Taylor Donaldson pushing the ball. Now stopping slowly. Dribble handoff. Taya Davis, top of the arc. Fake dribble handoff. Now at the left wing, in the left corner, Kayla Berry drives baseline. No good at the rim, but she gets fouled, and she'll get 2 free throws. More free throws opportunities for this Fordham team. As we talked about, Tucker, they weren't there much early in this game.
Yeah, George Mason starting to take a couple possessions off on defense here, giving up some fouls, giving up some points at the free throw line. Although it's not super dangerous yet. You know, every point matters down the stretch. And so she makes the first, does Kayla Berry.
Second one good as well. Perfect trip to the line for Kayla Berry. She's got Fordham back within 16. 39-23, 4:10 to go in this third quarter. Emma Wilson-Saltos retrieving that long pass like a cornerback, blocking it out of bounds. It'll be off Fordham, but a good effort there from Emma Wilson-Saltos on the defensive end.
Yeah, good effort all game from Emma Wilson-Saltos. Really, in a game where it's probably hard to give 100% right now, Emma Wilson-Saltos giving 110, 115 even.
100%. Left corner 3, it's good! Jada Brown off the quick pass from Paula Suarez, left corner 3, and that brings George Mason back out to 19, 42-23, 3:50 to go in this third quarter. Pass into the left block, cross-court pass, Taya Davis, right wing, to drive inside, tried to get it to Wilson-Saltos, through her hands, back to Fordham, though. Kayla Berry has it, driving to the rim, she missed as well. Emma Wilson-Saltos on the offensive glass, her opportunity no good as well. The effort there for the Rams, they just can't seem to get it in. It's a bit of a shot clock discrepancy. It's going to be a whistle and an official stoppage.
It seems like there were so many changes of possession there under the basket that the shot clock operator didn't quite know what to do. They may have pressed reset about 4 times for maybe 3 actual shots. So they'll try and reset that shot clock, get it properly working again. Seems like there might be an extended timeout here.
It's going to be an extended timeout. We'll take a little break along with the teams, trying to just figure out a shot clock issue on the offensive end here for the Fordham Rams. 3:30 to go in this third quarter. George Mason still with a commanding 42-23 lead. We'll be right back from the Rose Hill Gym in the Bronx. You're listening to Fordham Women's Basketball on WFUV Sports.
I'm Chaz McAdams.
And I'm Ben Oppenheimer.
And we are 2 of your hosts for On the Hill, the flagship podcast of Fordham Athletics.
We'll be talking about everything from football at Moglia Stadium
to hoops at the historic Rose Hill Gym,
discussing the ins and outs of all Ram athletes, teams, and big games.
If you want to be part of the Ramily, then listen to On the Hill from WFUV Sports.
Hey, this is Chris Carrino, Fordham and WFUV class of 1992. WFUV is your home for all things Fordham athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to our Saturday show, One on One. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV sports.
Hi, this is Mike Breen, WFUV class of 1983. WFUV is the flagship station of Fordham Athletics with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to Saturday one-on-one. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV sports.
Here from the Bronx, the official discrepancy sorted out. 13 seconds allotted on the shot clock, 3:30 on the game clock, 42-23. George Mason lead over the Fordham Rams. Chris Carrino joined by Tucker Austin. Tucker, it's been a frustrating segment of play for the Fordham Rams, but recently, especially on the offensive end, they seem to be gaining some momentum.
Yeah, just a little bit of something going. You know, George Mason starting to kind of lessen their foot on the brake a little, or their foot on the gas, I should say, rather. Taking their foot off the gas a little bit in terms of the defensive end. They're starting to give up a couple more fouls, which, you know, they can do. We'll just see if Fordham can maybe get hot from behind three. I mean, you'd love to see them knock a couple of threes down to try and get back into this game.
Mitchell dribble handoff, right wing to Suarez in transition. Pass downstairs. That one's good. Zahiro Walton on the layup from the left side of the rim, 44-23, 21-point lead for the Patriots, 3:13 to go in this third quarter.
Way too open under the basket was Zahiro Walton. The leading scorer on the team should not be completely unmarked under the rim.
Fake dribble handoff and then a drive, kicked out, Caleb Berry, left wing, that one, lob pass sails way over the head of Emma Wilson-Saltos under the basket, out of bounds. Another turnover for the Fordham Rams.
Got to clean that up at this point, at this stage of the game, this late and in this big of a hole. Fordham cannot afford any mistakes. I mean, it's not like they could afford mistakes to begin with.
3 minutes left in the third quarter. 13 turnovers for the Fordham Rams. Right wing three is good. Quick right wing three from Volker puts George Mason back up 24. 47-23. 2:38 to go in this third quarter. Back to what I was saying, we're not even nearly done with this third quarter yet. 13 turnovers for the Fordham Rams. They like to keep it around 15 in games. They're going to be well over that number today. Veljevic on the right wing. Going to go left around a Wilson-Saltos screen. Now at the foul line. Driving through the left side of the lane. Pass intercepted by Mitchell. George Mason coming the other way with numbers. Mitchell Euro stepping in the middle of the lane. No good on the left-handed layup. It's now a fight under the basket. Eventually Mora's there to get it out for Fordham. Taya Davis moving with speed. Stopping at the free throw line. Kicked out to Donaldson. Right wing three. No good off the left side of the rim. Another fight for it. Veljevic has it. Second chance for the Fordham offense. Top of the arc, Taya Davis. Left wing to Veljevic. Her three.
No good. Fordham can't buy a three-point bucket right now. Wilson Santos, another chance for the Fordham offense, and that one's stolen by Mitchell. 2-on-3 the other way for George Mason, and she finishes at the rim with the left hand. Niku Mitchell, the junior from Baltimore, capping off a beautiful defensive, I would say, moment there for the George Mason Patriots. Donaldson drifting from one wing to the other. Now Veljovic top of the arc. Stopping at the left wing, taking a mid-ranger. It's an air ball. And Emma Wilson-Santos tried to save it out of bounds, but could not. It is a ugly spell of play for the Fordham Rams.
From bad to worse, Chris, we were talking about a bad stretch before the start of this 2 or 3 minute or so sequence, and now on the other side of the play clock discrepancy, Fordham has looked even worse, I would say, than they did before. Just completely out of gas and getting run up and down the floor by George Mason at the moment.
George Mason over double the point total of the Fordham Rams, 49-23, 1:10 to go in this third quarter. Now on the right wing, it's McNeil getting her first action so far here tonight. Walton out top. McNeil pump faking top of the arc. Right elbow jumper is good from the mid-range. Kamaya McNeil, the Milwaukee native, continuing the offensive dominance for George Mason. 47 seconds left in the quarter. Taya Davis pass in the left corner. Taylor Donaldson skip pass Rose Nelson. Another pass Veljovic. Right wing three, no good. And another defensive rebound. Played up ahead for George Mason to Mitchell in transition. No good at the rim. Her bench wanted a foul. Doesn't get one. Fordham not wasting any time offensively. Left wing three for Taylor Donaldson. No good, rimming out. 3-point struggles continue for Fordham. They got an offensive rebound. Another chance for the offense. Right wing, Taya Davis. One-on-one with Mitchell. Pass out. Taylor Donaldson driving through the middle of the lane. Mid-ranger is good from the right elbow. Taylor Donaldson finally getting a bucket for this Fordham offense. And a quick shot the other way, not in time. See if that one's going to be in time. Might be a review on that. George Mason quickly got it up the court. A baseline jumper from Mitchell in the mid-range will be reviewed over at the scores table right now. The officials will make their way over there. But after 3 quarters here in the Bronx, the wheels truly fall off for the Rams. George Mason, 51-25 lead over the Fordham Rams after 3 quarters. A disappointing showing for the Fordham Rams, coming off a 3-loss skid.
Yeah, in a game where Fordham needed to show some life and needed to show that this 3-game skid wasn't anything more than just a sort of bump in the road in conference play. Now it's starting to look a little bit more like the Fordham Rams may have lost their touch from that opening of conference play. And it's not even that it's against George Mason, one of the top teams in the A-10. It's more that they lost to SLU, who are not, they're a mid-tier team, and then George Washington, who are bottom of the A-10. And then it's insult to injury to have to come play George Mason at home and just get completely obliterated like this.
The Fordham struggles continue. We'll be right back for the fourth quarter. But first, we're going to send it back to the Rose Hill Studios for another one-on-one scoreboard update with Derek Bollier. Take it away, Derek.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
With the NBA trade deadline ending on Thursday, a plethora of big moves were made, including one of the most shocking trades in NBA history, as Luka Doncic was traded to the Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis. Immediately following this, De'Aaron Fox was shipped to San Antonio from the Kings in exchange for many picks and Zach LaVine from the Bulls. The Wizards sent Kyle Kuzma to the Bucks in a 4-team deal involving the Knicks and Spurs as well. In another move from the Lakers, Dalton Knecht and some picks were sent to my home team, the Charlotte Hornets, in exchange for Mark Williams. Dalton Knecht will surely benefit next to LaMelo Ball in Charlotte. Finally, as I talked about earlier, the Heat are without Jimmy Butler as they sent him across the country to Golden State in exchange for Andrew Wiggins and some other small pieces. The Rockets try to get back on track after losing 5 straight as they head to Dallas to play the Mavericks in their first home game without Luka Doncic after the trade. Game is currently Rockets 15, Mavs 25, with 4 minutes left in the first quarter. With the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Derek Bollier.
10 minutes to go in this matchup. The fourth and final quarter in front of us. 51-25. George Mason lead over the Fordham Rams. I'm Chris Carrino, joined, of course, by my partner, Tucker Austin. Tucker, we just heard that beautiful update there by Derek. But now, getting back to the action at hand, this Fordham Ram team has been a constant disappointment on both ends of the court, specifically in the second half of that third quarter. It really seemed, as I said before the break, that the wheels had fallen off.
Yes, that they have, Chris. And I believe at this point the wheels have probably rolled all the way to Manhattan University at this point, maybe across borough. But, you know, really just a tough performance because this George Mason team is so good. They're so consistent, and they just know how to get the buckets to go. Fordham, on the other hand, has been struggling with that recently. Of course, like, the offensive struggles, they speak for themselves. 10 for 40 from the floor is just, it's not a winning formula, Chris. And I think it starts with Taylor Donaldson. She's only got one bucket on the night.
It's now Shea Harris working out of the left wing, guarded by McNeil. Now going through the middle of the paint into the right corner. Veljevich crossing left to right, baseline side, then stops. Back out, cross-court pass, intercepted by Mitchell. George Mason now has it. Top of the arc, McNeil. She'll reset the offense slightly. She'll drift over to the left wing, calling for isolation, going right around a screen. Volker is there on the roll, now one-on-one with Rose Nelson. Left post, blocked. Blocked by Rose Nelson. Ball is still loose, eventually picked up by Greenberg. George Mason with another chance at the right elbow. Stopping, putting up a crazy shot at the end of the shot clock. Ball goes out of bounds. It'll stay with George Mason with a second left on the shot clock, 9 minutes on the game clock.
Going to need a touch shot here.
Yeah.
Perhaps a valley-oop, although I've still yet to see a dunk.
Still yet to see one as well. It would be the time.
I wonder if we'll see a dunk in the next couple of years in women's college basketball. It could come soon.
It happens in women's college basketball. I've yet to see it at a consistent level in the Atlantic 10. We're surely on the way there with the way this game is evolving.
Absolutely.
Now, that will be a shot clock violation. Missed shot with the 1 second they had allotted. They simply couldn't go with Tucker's idea, unfortunately. Nonetheless, Fordham with the ball offensively. Another chance for Fordham to work offensively. Shea Harris, right wing. Step back three, no good. Rimming out right to left. An offensive rebound tracked down by Taylor Donaldson behind the arc. Dribble handoff back to Shea Harris, right wing. Going through the middle of the paint. Bounce pass downstairs. Kayla Berry had trouble holding on to it. It's going to be a foul on George Mason. And once again, Fordham ball in the front court.
It will stay with Fordham. I believe the call was a kick ball. I don't think George Mason is going to pick up a foul, but Fordham will retain possession.
Quick three, left corner, no good from Shea Harris off the quick find from Taylor Donaldson. Now, the black and pink going the other way. Patriots out of the left block. Casey in the right corner. Mitchell, no good on her shot off the top of the backboard. And Fordham now taking it offensively. 51-26 lead for George Mason. Shea Harris out of the right corner, driving inside, going baseline side, and finishing at the rim. Shea Harris.
Nice and strong to the rim goes Shea Harris. Straight through the paint, streaking in after getting the pass on the outside. Great move by Harris.
51-27. George Mason lead, right wing mid-ranger, no good there from Casey. Now the other way. Pass in the right block. Mora backing down her defender, spinning left, using the left hand, no good at the rim. A fight for it on the glass. Once again, Casey is there wrestling it out. And possession arrow the other way toward George Mason.
Yeah, good battle by Morwa there under the basket. You like to see the continued fight from the Fordham Rams. Although I'll be honest, Chris, I don't think I've seen them score. I mean, they would have needed 25 in this quarter. I don't think I've seen them score 25 in a quarter this year.
Yeah, I do not think so either. Right wing, driving to the right side of the lane. Mitchell finishing at the right block. Tough and contested finish. And she's got George Mason out to a 53-27 lead. As that mid-ranger, no good on the other end for Taylor Donaldson. It'll stay here on this side, out of bounds on the baseline. 7:26 to go in this fourth quarter.
It's the little shots like that, like just barely on the outside. It's not a three, but it's in Taylor Donaldson's bag, that little pull-up J from the right or the left wing, and they just haven't been going for her. Normally, Fordham can kind of lean on that consistent scoring.
Taylor Donaldson tried to get it out to the top of the key. It was intercepted by Mitchell. She was guarding the inbounder, tried to then send a pretty crazy pass up ahead, just out of the reach of her teammate into the backcourt. And once again, it will be Fordham ball. They'll take it out on the baseline. Chris Antoine will inbound it in the backcourt. 53-27. George Mason leads. 7:15 to go in this fourth quarter. Taya Davis drifting over to the left wing. Stopping at the top of the key. Now driving to the right side of the lane. Putting up a floater. No good on her back foot. Arene Moore is there on the offensive chance. Back out. Shea Harris, right wing three. No good. It'll go the other way. Foul on the Fordham Rams. And another turnover for the Fordham Rams, Tucker. Something you've, I think, almost gotten annoyed hearing so far this afternoon.
Yeah, just more things not going the Rams' way.
19 turnovers for the Rams.
At this point, I'm not really sure what the Rams are supposed to even do about it, because it seems like every single time they go on the offensive end, they find a way to somehow trip over themselves.
Boker, floater from the free throw line is
And then
good.
that goes for George Mason, like the random floater they throw up from the free throw line when Fordham can't even get like their most basic looks to go.
Everything going well for George Mason this afternoon. The almost exact opposite for the Fordham Rams. 55-27, a 28-point lead for George Mason. 6.5 to go in this game. That one out of bounds once again on the far sideline, right into the lap of some assistant coaches of Fordham. Another turnover for the Fordham offense.
Completely random. One-off turnover that was entirely unforced.
I said earlier,
it
Tucker,
goes off Carissa Antoine and out of bounds.
I said to you earlier, Tucker, this team almost getting creative with the way that they're turning the ball over at this point. We'll be in the backcourt now.
Finding new ways to turn the ball over.
Deep on the right wing. Pass downstairs, backdoor pass, no good, and a hard foul. Kayla Berry contesting the backdoor cutting Mitchell, and she hit her hard.
Oh, they might take a look at this one, Chris, and I wouldn't blame them if they did. They got an ice pack on her under the basket right now. It was Kayla Berry who went up with her pretty hard under the basket, easily the hardest contact we've seen today. The whole building comes to a complete silence almost.
Yeah, complete silence. We're going to get a review at the scores table. It's going to be a media timeout once again. We'll take a little break from the Bronx to settle this whole situation. Fordham down big, 55-27, 6:13 to go in this fourth quarter.
Hi, this is Michael Kay, WFUV class of 1982. WFUV is your home for all things Fordham athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to our Saturday show, One-on-One. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV Sports.
Still a bit of a conversation, a discrepancy even maybe at the scores table between the officials. They're now talking, giving communication to each coaching staff, letting them know what the decision was that they ended up making. 6:13 to go in this fourth quarter, fourth and final period of this game this afternoon. 55-27. George Mason, 28-point lead over the Fordham Rams. The lead is larger than the point total of the Fordham Rams. A very impressive performance, not only on the offensive end for George Mason, but the defensive end. They've let both ends work off each other, and overall it has been a fantastic performance from the Patriots.
Yeah, powered almost, well, I shouldn't say exclusively. They're powered pretty well by Walton tonight. Zahira Walton for the George Mason Patriots, putting together a really nice performance. 18 points, 5 for 5 from the stripe, adds 6 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal and a block. She's playing great, and she normally does for this George Mason team, but also Jada Brown filling in for the injured Kennedy Harris. She's got 12 points, 2 for 4 from behind the three-point line, 3 boards and an assist. Walton and Brown have both played 28 minutes for George Mason. That both leads the team. And, you know, it's just been a really, really solid offensive performance all around from George Mason. Really, you look anywhere, and they've been spreading the wealth. You know, they get plenty of assists, plenty of good looks that are going, and plenty of weird looks that are going too, Chris. A lot of prayer shots thrown up by George Mason that have found their way to the bottom of the bucket. Not really much that Fordham can do about that. It's just a little bit of, that's a touch of luck that at the end of the day, there's not much you can change about it.
Fordham Rams, 23% from the field, 11 for 47, 0 of 14 from the three-point line. Even with a big discrepancy on the scoreboard, you think 14 threes would make some sort of difference.
Yeah, you'd think one would fall eventually, but again, it's just kind of been the way that things have gone for the Fordham Rams for the past few games. I mean, they get the shots up, and they get plenty of shots up. They just aren't always falling, and tonight they certainly are not.
And it's going to be a flagrant foul on Kayla Berry. It's going to be Neku Mitchell by herself in the front court taking that free throw. No good on the first. And everyone else will be together in the backcourt. Mitchell, 4 points tonight, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Fordham Rams, a silver lining this afternoon, perfect at the free throw line, 5 for 5. They obviously haven't gotten there as much as they would like, only 5 free throws, but in a place that they've struggled sometimes this year, they have gotten those shots and gotten those points to go. It's just the shooting seemingly everywhere else has been kind of lagging behind, Tucker.
Yeah, but you know, you always do have to find the silver lining, because otherwise you're just going to get yourself stuck in an infinite pool of negativeness. So, gotta find the little things that stick out. And today, I think the free throw shooting is certainly there. I think it also is worth mentioning that Taya Davis has looked good in her return after not playing against George Washington, and after she maybe looked like she had lost her touch a little bit against SLU. Come back into this game, and we thought that she was going to come off the bench in this one, Chris, but she wound up getting slid into the starting rotation tonight, and that was a pregame decision based on warm-ups. So Taya Davis clearly feeling good, and she looks good out there tonight for the Fordham Rams.
McNeil, right wing. Cross-court pass, left corner. Habib, pump faking and then stopping. Back out to McNeil, top of the key. On the left elbow, Volker looking inside, takes the jumper. It's good from mid-range. Volker on the left elbow, getting George Mason out to a 31-point lead, 58-27, 5:49 to go in this fourth quarter. Taya Davis deep on the left wing, going right around to Morris Green, now top of the arc. To Shea Harris, left wing. Shea Harris stopping at the left elbow and hitting. Mid-ranger good for Shea Harris off an array of dribble moves, and she's got the Fordham offense with a field goal. 58-29, still a large discrepancy for the Fordham Rams. 5:30 to go in this fourth quarter. Left wing three, no good. That one was taken quickly by Paige Greenberg, and she'll go to the line for 2 on the foul, on the shot. Three free throws awaiting her.
Emma Wilson-Saltos picks up the foul for the Fordham Rams. Greenberg has a low volume of free throws this season, but when she gets them, she does not miss. 93% is the number, Chris, if you can believe it, as she misses the first one.
Missing her first free throw of the afternoon so far. 2 points, 1 field goal before this. No good on that one as well. A 93% free throw shooter on the year, missing back-to-back free throws at the line.
Right? I mean, it should be said, very, very low volume. I'm fairly certain, as she makes the third, 1 of 3, I'm fairly certain she takes maybe less than 1 free throw per game. But still, that percentage is very high. But it is weird to see her miss 2 there.
Taya Davis, left wing. Same spot, Shea Harris tried to get it in the left block to Giles Jones. She lost it. Foul before then. It'll be on George Mason on the floor. That's their first foul of the fourth quarter. Fordham with 3. It'll be inbound on the left baseline. Taya Davis. In the right corner, Shea Harris. Pump faking, then dribbling. Spinning toward the middle of the floor. Taking a jumper. No good from the mid-range, but a foul. Another foul on the floor. Or that one would be a shooting foul, actually. Greenberg, once again, Paige Greenberg,
She just missed 2 free throws on the other end. Now fouling Shea Harris, who will get 2 chances at the line. 59-29, 30-point lead for George Mason. Just a second under 5 minutes to go in this fourth quarter. First one's good for Shea Harris.
And Shea Harris is becoming much more difficult to stop for George Mason. You see them finally having to foul her there on a jump shot that was fairly far away. I don't know if she would have made that straight up.
No good on the second free throw, but a offensive rebound by Irene Mora. She gets fouled.
I believe
it'll be a foul the other way, actually.
Yeah.
It'll be on Irene Mora. There's a bit of a wrestling match over the ball, under the basket, in the glass, and Irene Mora picks up the foul call. The 4th foul for the Rams as a team this fourth quarter. Played up ahead on the right wing. A mid-ranger once again is good from Volker. The Purcellville native with the unorthodox jumper has now hit more back-to-back mid-rangers. Taya Davis, right to left crossover. Finds Shea Harris, free throw line. Now drifting over to the left elbow. Back out to Taya Davis. Left to right crossover. Now right to left. Middle of the paint. No good on the floater. McNeil on the defensive glass. Once again, George Mason controls. Pass in the right corner. Quick 3 is good. Quick receive and fire for Habib, and the Tampa native got George Mason out to a 34-point lead. 64-30, 4:05 to go in this fourth quarter.
42.1% from behind the three-point line are the George Mason Patriots in this game, Chris. That's 8 for 19 now shooting the 3 ball. Just an excellent performance from 3 for the Pats.
Taylor Donaldson in the right corner. Irene Mora, her 3, no good. Got her own rebound, tracked it down at the left block, putting up a shot, no good, but she's fouled on the way up. Irene Mora go to the line for 2. Irene Mora very quiet so far offensively tonight. 2 points, only 2 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 fouls.
A nice little trip to the line for her, though.
Irene Mora picking up her 4th point there. Good. Her 3rd point, now 3 points on the night. Still 64-31, George Mason lead. 3:43 to go in this fourth quarter. Irene Mora, 2nd shot at the line is good. 2 for 2 at the line for Irene Mora. She brings Fordham back within 32. It's now Habib receiving it in the front court for George Mason. Quick pass up ahead and a finish at the rim. Faith Okari, Chicago native, finishing off that great team display down the court. 3.5 minutes and counting on this fourth quarter. 66-32. Fordham, one of their lowest scoring efforts all season. Taylor Donaldson straight on 3 is good. Taylor Donaldson finally hitting a 3 for this Fordham team. Fordham getting their first 3 there, their 15th 3 of the night. And now 66-35, 31-point game. 3 minutes to go in this fourth quarter. McNeil, deep right wing, resetting the offense. Now going left around a Massenberg screen, pass in the left corner. Greenberg's 3, no good. Offensive rebound. Habib brings it out. Pass right corner. Greenberg again. Passing it back out. McNeil deep on the right wing, directing the offense with her hands. Picking up a double team. Pass inside. Pump fake and then a shot. A travel called on the exchange. It'll be on Faith Okari. And it'll go back toward Fordham offensively. 2.5 to go.
Oh, a nice little break there for the Fordham Rams on the travel after Taylor Donaldson knocks down her first 3 of the night. Some good things here from Fordham here late in the fourth quarter.
On the left wing, Taya Davis, lob pass inside to Emma Wilson-Saltos, and it rims out. Second chance is good, plus the foul. Emma Wilson-Saltos with a chance to complete the 3-point play at the line. Emma Wilson-Saltos continuing with that effort that Tucker was talking about earlier.
Yes, I was about to mention that, Chris. Love to see that from her. Great work underneath to get the first shot up, but even better job of staying with the ball after the miss. It's so easy, Chris, after you miss a shot, especially from that close, to just kind of forget about it and start to think, how could I possibly have missed that? But Wilson-Saltos turns the page quickly, grabs her own board, puts it back up and makes the free throw to make it a 3-point play.
3-point play completed for her, and almost a forced turnover in the backcourt by Veljovic. George Mason still going to hold on to it. 66-38, 2:12 to go in this fourth quarter. George Mason breaking the press now into the front court. Greenberg through the right side of the lane, no good on her two-handed shot at the rim. Fordham now coming the other way with speed. Taya Davis dishing it out, drive and kick to Irene Mora. She travels at the left block. Another turnover for the Fordham offense. George Mason will take over.
Yeah, maybe just moving a little bit too quickly were the Fordham Rams there in transition, trying to get a quick bucket here as time is slowly withering away off this clock.
McNeil deep on the right wing. Faking left, going right. No good on the shot, getting her own rebound. Second chance, no good as well. Above the square on the backboard. Fordham recovers it. They'll have it offensively. 1:30 to go in this fourth quarter. 66-38, George Mason. Shot under the basket, no good for Emma Wilson-Saltos, but she's fouled on the shot. Another free throw opportunity for Emma Wilson-Saltos. Wilson-Saltos, 3 points, 8 rebounds on the night so far. Does so much more than what shows up on the score sheet.
One thing you also don't see on the score sheet, Chris, is how crucial Emma Wilson-Saltos' role becomes when Fordham players start to get into foul trouble because, it might be too late in this game, but Mordwa has 4 fouls.
Yeah.
As Wilson-Saltos makes the second. I saw against...
Mora, the only one really in a deep amount of foul trouble.
Yeah. But Fordham has had foul trouble with multiple players in previous games, and Wilson-Saltos she does a really good job filling in those roles for Mordwa when she gets too many fouls, or for Carissa Antoine when she picks up too many fouls.
Double team picked up deep on the right wing. Mora and Davis trying to guard McNeil. It'll be a foul on the floor. George Mason will now be going to the free throw line. 5th foul for the Fordham Rams. 2 free throws for McNeil.
I gotta say, Wilson-Saltos' rebounding has also gotten a lot better as the season has progressed. Yeah. I mean, you could say that about the entirety of this Fordham team. They've been working on their rebounds so consistently this entire year. It's part of the reason why they're nationally ranked in offensive rebounds per game and in rebound differential. But really just a great job from Wilson-Saltos individually. I've been able to watch her grow as a rebounder as this season has progressed.
McNeil, no good off back iron. Be a second chance for George Mason on the offensive rebound. George Mason still playing hard. Just over 1 minute to go in the fourth quarter, 67-40. Pass way over the head of the intended receiver. Veljovic has it, and Fordham moving the other way. Shea Harris, right wing. Back out, Veljovic. To Taylor Donaldson. Pass to Shea Harris, top of the arc. Dribble handoff, Taylor Donaldson, left wing. Now moving to the top of the arc. Getting all the way to the free throw line. Back out, Veljovic. Right wing 3 is good. Anastasia Veljovic hits the 3. 67-43. George Mason, 41.5 on the game clock.
Here comes a full press from the Fordham Rams.
Yeah, aggressive full press from the Rams. Double teams on McNeil, Veljovic, and Harris back to defend. Played up ahead into the front court. 30 seconds on the game clock. It seems George Mason will let the time dribble out. Actually, no. McNeil splitting defenders. Cross-court pass, left corner. Greenberg's 3 is good. George Mason almost playing possum with the Fordham Rams there. They're now out to a 70-43 lead. Just 15 seconds left in regulation. Fordham Rams working with a final possession. Veljovic on the right wing. Now top of the arc, going to the free throw line. Kick out Mora, left corner 3. No good off back iron. And that's how we will end here this afternoon. George Mason with a statement in the Rose Hill Gym on the road in the Bronx. 70-43. George Mason over the Fordham Rams. Tucker, an impressive performance for one of the A-10's best.
Yep. George Mason showing us today exactly why they are the second-ranked team in the Atlantic 10. And it's only on a technicality, I believe, Chris, as they have the same number of wins as the number 1 team, but 1 more loss. Of course, this will give them more wins than the top, so likely George Mason finds themselves atop of the A-10 conference on the women's side now. And yeah, it was a great performance all around for the George Mason Patriots today. They shot 41% from the floor, 42% from 3, You add 64% from the free throw line. That's very solid, and that'll help you anytime when you shoot the lights out the way they did from the floor today. And that's really where you find the disparity, I think, in this game, is that George Mason had an absolutely almost perfect shooting day. Meanwhile, the Fordham Rams couldn't seem to get anything going in terms of the shooting. From the floor, Chris, Fordham winds up going 15 of 55. From 3, they go 2 of 17. From the free throw line, they go 11 of 12, though. I like that you mentioned that at the end of, or in the middle of the fourth quarter there. Something that the Rams have been working on, trying to get more free throws to go, and they managed to do so. But again, just a really, really like next to perfect performance from George Mason, and against a performance that I don't think it would have hung with George Mason if, like, even if George Mason didn't shoot the lights out, I don't think they hang with him. But 70 points is hard to overcome regardless of however many points you can score.
Fordham Rams fall big to the George Mason Patriots 70-43. It was Zahira Walton of George Mason leading the game. She had 18. Now looking ahead on the schedule for the Fordham Rams. They're back in action on Wednesday. That one is at LaSalle in Philadelphia and is at 6:30 p.m. See if the Rams can knock off their 4-game losing streak and get back on track in the Atlantic 10. For now, for us, from the Rose Hill Gym, of course, I want to thank my partner, Tucker Austin, our sideline reporter, Annabelle Watson, as well. Of course, a big shout-out and thank you to Caleb Stein. Caleb Stein on the ones and twos all afternoon long. Mary Hannah Gallagher on engineering and updates. And for the final time, we're going to send it back to the Rose Hill Studios for a post-game report with Derek Bullier and Zach Cordova. Take it away, guys.
The one-on-one post-game report.
Welcome into the one-on-one post-game report. I'm Zach Cordova alongside Derek Bollier. And a tough afternoon for the Rams has finally come to an end as they fall 70-43 to the George Mason Patriots. And that is now a 9-game win streak, moving to 21-3 on the season for the Patriots. And the Rams have now dropped 4 straight, falling to 12-11 on the season. And man, tough way to end this one. Really tough second half. We asked for more effort in that post-game, or in that halftime a little break there.
Yep.
But regardless of everything, Fordham got back on the boards. They end up outboarding George Mason, but everything else just did not go their way. What did you see in this one, Derek?
I kind of just saw it just never really happened for Fordham, to be honest. I mean, 2 for 17 from 3, and honestly, the only light that I can see in this game is the fourth quarter. George Mason scored 19 and Fordham scored 18. So the fourth quarter, it was close there, but nothing else really happened for him. I mean, just 22 turnovers. Just nothing happened for Fordham.
Yeah, nothing really could get going for them. 22 turnovers, as you mentioned, 11 of those coming in the third quarter, which was really the backbreaker for them. Came out of the half and just immediately turning the ball over, not starting it off well. And it just continued that quarter, and George Mason really put on the pressure, put their foot on the gas, and blew this one out of the water. The wheels fell off of the bus for Fordham in that quarter, and it's not all just because, necessarily Fordham had a bad game. We have to give George Mason their credit. They're a great team coming in here. Shot the lights out, as Tucker Austin said. 9 threes for them, 9 for 21 on the day. So that gives them a 42% from 3, where Fordham lacked in that department. 2 for 17. They were able to get 2 now to end the game there in the fourth quarter. But before that, 0 for 15 on the day. None of the shots are really falling. We started calling for a little bit more scoring out of the Fordham side, and we got that. Taya Davis didn't really show up in that second half, but Fordham's Harris came in, dropped 11 in that second half to give the Rams a little bit of a win. Taylor Donaldson finished with 5. She struggled from the field today, 2 for 12, 1 for 6 from 3. Just the shots were not falling for Fordham today.
Yeah, and Shea Harris kind of showed up in that second half, though. She had 11 in the second half, which was a big piece that Fordham really needed, but obviously just not nearly enough. Losing by 27, I mean, just not nearly enough. Nothing, honestly, could have helped Fordham at that point, especially when they were down by so much in starting the second half. But, I mean, Walton on the other side of the ball, 18, 6 and 4, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and then a block and a steal, doing everything for George Mason. And they really did spread out their scoring. I mean, Brown had 12. Obviously, Walton had 18. Suarez had 8. Habib had 8. Volker had 9. Like, their whole bench even got included. Just a big squish, like you said, and like Tucker said, shooting the lights out of Fordham, just unmatched. Fordham couldn't do anything.
Yeah. And it's hard to get your offense going when you're turning over the ball so much. George Mason finishes with 10 steals on the day, and in total 28 points off of those 22 turnovers, where Fordham only 6 points off of turnovers today. Just a huge discrepancy there. Fordham could never get anything going on that side of the ball. The shots already weren't falling, then the turnovers on top of it. George Mason already on fire as well, especially in that second half. We talked about how they started off the game slow in that first quarter, couldn't really get going, but Fordham in that second half just continued to miss shots, continued to not get the looks they wanted, where George Mason, the shots eventually just started falling for him, and when they did, it hurt Fordham bad.
Yeah, exactly. And just, I mean, like we were talking about with the turnovers, George Mason has 7. I mean, it's kind of just the biggest thing to take away is Fordham played a basketball game where they made a lot of mistakes. They kind of hurt themselves a lot. The shots weren't falling. But George Mason played a game where it really wasn't not a lot of mistakes, only 7 turnovers, just not a lot of it. Just a very clean game, a much more clean game from George Mason than Fordham, and Fordham just not a super clean game. Too many turnovers. Like, I'm just gonna keep reiterating it. Just shots just weren't falling. Like, just Fordham really, their offense never even started going until kind of the fourth quarter. Just. Yeah, nothing was really happening for him.
And it seemed like once you got into that fourth quarter and Fordham maybe kind of let this one go, the offense started flowing a little bit more. Maybe there wasn't as much stress, as much pressure. I don't know. You could say George Mason wasn't playing as hard at that point because they're so up. But I think for Fordham, they got to find that loose feel on the offense. They got to find a way to get going. They got to find a way to get easy looks and convert on those easier looks. We saw a lot of missed layups. We saw a lot of missed open threes for the Rams, some air balls, some really, really bad misses. The shots aren't always going to fall. We know that. You can't be perfect every day, and you can't shoot as well as George Mason did every day. But at the same time, you got to find other ways to win, and a lot of those are effort plays. And like we mentioned earlier in the first half and continuing to the second half, it just didn't seem like Fordham had that same effort level that George Mason did coming in today. George Mason, not necessarily defensively in terms of the steals and causing turnovers, a dominant performance, but you look at the rebound differential. Fordham's still able to get their 45 rebounds over George Mason's 34. It wasn't like they were completely overpowered in this game. It was just George Mason knocking down shots and Fordham killing themselves with their turnovers and just not getting anything going on the offensive end. They got to find a way to turn on the offensive end. This is the biggest thing for them going forward.
Yeah, and like you said at the beginning, they kind of got looser in that fourth quarter. That's when they started making those threes. They made 2, and both of them were in the fourth quarter. So they kind of got to maybe have a little bit more fun with it. Maybe not like super stress-free, but like be a little more loose. Like, you're playing basketball, you're having some fun, but like that's when you can make some shots. And just George Mason just shot the lights out.
They shot the lights out. That's all you can say.
That's all that. I mean, 70 points is just even if Fordham's offense got going at the very beginning, I not sure if maybe they had a chance to win this game. Just 70 points is just unbelievable.
And that third quarter explosion definitely did not help them. They scored 21 in that third quarter, almost matching their 30 points they scored in the first quarter. George Mason, like I said, came out of that halftime break and just put their foot on the gas, and the wheels fell off for Fordham in that one.
They might be upstate at this point.
They might be upstate at this point. But sadly, that'll do it today for our post-game report. The Fordham Rams fall to the George Mason Patriots, 70-43, in a frustrating one for Fordham. But before we go, I'd like to shout out our crew for today's broadcast. We had Chris Carrino and Tucker Austin on the call. Caleb Stein was on the board, quarterbacking our team. Mary Hannah Gallagher was providing you all with those beautiful graphics on the YouTube stream. Bobby Chaffardini is our director. And finally, in the studio with me, Derek Bollier. I'm Zach Cordova, and Fordham Women's Basketball is a production of WFUV Sports. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone, and happy Super Bowl Sunday.